Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to the Her Story Online Summit. This is Gertrude Macha here in beautiful Melbourne, Australia. And we start off our morning on day 30 with a full house. I can't believe we've been going for 30 straight days. Every single day we've been coming online. We've had some amazing stories to date. So let me welcome my panel. Please introduce yourselves. Tell everybody where you are before we get started. Starting up there, Maria, we'll start with you.
Hi. Hi. It's good to be here. It's definitely, a labor of love for you, Sister Gertrude. Hats off to you. Well done. Well done. 30 straight days. Just showing love and sharing the power of stories of all women around the globe. We salute you for that. So my name is Maria Magdalena Mbanga Majimavi, quite a mouthful. But I am based here in Keller, Texas, the warm Texan southern Texas. So it's warm. So I'm glad to be here and I'm looking forward to hearing more and sharing my story.
Fantastic. Thank you, Maria. We'll go down to you, Tricia. Can you introduce yourself? And if I'm mispronouncing your name, please correct me.
That's okay, no worries. So, my name is Trishan Renee Edwards, and I'm in the chilly Toronto, Canada. And I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much, Gertrude, for having me here. It's such an honor.
Wonderful to have you here. Sonia.
Yes, thank you. I am also here in chilly Toronto, Canada. Nice. However, I just got back from Mexico. I was in Mexico on holidays, and hence I've got a tan. But yes, here in Toronto, and love to be a part of this organization and to meet people from around the world.
Wonderful. So it looks like Canada is dominating the house today, which is absolutely awesome. So what we're going to do is I first of all have to acknowledge the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea, and community. We pay our respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people today. This is a traditional acknowledgement for my being here on this land, being able to broadcast these amazing stories from Australia. We have Ruth chiming in from Zimbabwe. Ruth, it's good to see you there. I hope you're feeling better, my friend. So my sister Ruth has been very ill. We normally work together. I haven't seen her beautiful face in days. So thank you for popping in virtually from Zimbabwe. So we are going to exit the stage, and Sonia, you're going to be our first speaker. We will be here in the background listening. You'll be alone on camera. And when you're ready for us to come in, we will come in and we will start asking questions and giving you feedback from your amazing presentation. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you.
All right. It's all yours.
So here I am. So hello, everybody. My name, as I said, is Sonia Kermy. I live in Toronto, Canada. I've lived in Canada my entire life. My grandparents came to Canada from Ukraine, and I still have family there in Ukraine. And it's been a very difficult, few weeks for me because I'm keeping in contact with my family. They are safe for now, but we are doing our best to get them over to Canada. They have applied for visas, and it's a matter of time that I might have a house full of guests that I don't really know, because I've been to Ukraine once and I met some of them, but it's we have to do what we have to do. But it breaks my heart that they're living in such terrible times right now. So my background, I grew up in Toronto. I was raised in Toronto. I went to school in Toronto. Actually, I went to school in London, Ontario, which is about 2 hours outside of Toronto. And my entire life, I'm a middle child. And I think middle children, if I'm of any indication, middle children tend to, constantly need attention. They constantly need, people to tell them to, help them. And if we don't get it, we become very outspoken. We become very independent. And that's exactly what I've been. So from a young age, I always knew that I was going to accomplish something special. I never knew what, but I just knew I was destined to do something. I was raised in a very ethnic background, and I wanted to be able to help other people. So that's a little bit about my background. After school, I decided that I wanted to travel the world, which I have been very fortunate to do. And so I entered into the travel business and worked very hard, spent many years in the travel business. And because of that, I have seen the world. I've been to many, many places, and so many places that are very different from where I live. And I've gotten to know a number of people. And I did that. I married. I have 3 wonderful, wonderful sons that I raised actually on my own. I was a single mother for about 16 years. And so it was me and my boys against the world. And but I was able to teach my sons to appreciate women, to understand women, to be compassionate to women, and to treat them as equals. And for that, I'm very proud, because my children do exactly that. They're grown, they're gone, they all have partners, but they treat their ladies beautifully, which makes my heart sing. And then I decided to leave the travel industry after I remarried. I'm married to a wonderful, wonderful man who has 5 children. So now I have a blended family of 8 children. They are grown. They don't live at home anymore. But anybody that's a mother will understand that your children are your children for their entire lives. You don't cut that string. They're always there, and especially in your heart. And so now I got into health and wellness, because as you get older, you realize that we have to take care of our health. I mean, our health is our greatest asset. I've always believed that. So I got into a health and wellness business, and it is a part-time online e-commerce business, which again has allowed me the freedom to do the things that I've always wanted to do. So I have become a patron of a school in Nairobi. I'm helping children in Nairobi because I do believe that, we all need to be educated. I've always believed that there are children all over the world that probably can solve our problems if they get the education that they deserve, and then they need to do that. So that was important to me. A big part of my life is climate change. I'm a climate change activist. I've joined several organizations, and I do talks on climate change. I write letters to the editor. I write op-eds. I do whatever I can, and I want to bring it to the attention of people that we have to be kind to our world. We have to protect our environment, because the planet is the only planet we have, and it doesn't matter how much money we have or how wonderful our lives can be. If we don't have a healthy planet to put it on, it doesn't make much sense. So I'm now into health and wellness. And I help people get healthy. I help people to, look better, feel better, lose weight, and with products that are absolutely amazing. It's a great company. It's a company that is global, and I offer a number of things. So, it's it's hard to speak for 15 minutes all on my own, but I believe that we all have a need to help everybody else, lifting other people out of wherever they happen to be in their lives, and be able to do what we can. I mean, we are stronger together, right? And so hence I love that this platform, we can be talking to people all over the world. It's beautiful.
Thank you so much, Sonia, for sharing your story with us. What a fascinating story. Now, travel does something to people when you move away from where you are born and you go somewhere else. My mother used to say that when you travel, you never come back the same person. It really expands your way of thinking and your way of being. What was the impact of your life on your children, having this ability to travel with you through your travel business? What did it do for your kids, do you think?
It a lot. It helped them to grow. It helped them to understand that there are people, there are different places in the world. I mean, we grew up in a very privileged society. We have, we have good healthcare. We have, good government. We have social nets, and we have a clean environment as well. I'll never forget one of the first times I took my children. I took them to Greece, and we arrived in Athens at about 4 o'clock in the morning, and got to the hotel, and they were tired, and we got up the next morning, and we were walking around, and I remember my one son saying to me, "Oh, Mom, it smells, it stinks, it's dirty, it's," I mean, but I said, I mean, that's, I mean, this is the birth of humanity. This is where, life started. I mean, this city has been around for thousands of years compared to our relatively new environment. But, just, being able to sit and talk to people, and to hear other people's, the way other people live, the other people's ideas, and to share the ideas. It was pretty amazing what they were able to experience.
Wow. We'll go around the room and give you feedback. But before I do move on to the next person to ask you some questions, Ukraine,
Mm-hmm.
the situation in Ukraine right now. One of the reasons why I'm curating all of these women's stories is I feel that the world is in need of an injection of a feminine energy.
Oh, yes.
We need to be stepping into the roles of leadership. This would never have happened if there were women heading these states. The most affected, as we know, when there is a war, are the women and children. We've been seeing the pictures online, the devastation, homes being bombed. What should we do as individuals from where we are to try and help Ukraine? I see that you are opening up your home to family, to relatives. What other ideas do you think you could share so we can each be a part of this, besides just donating money if we can?
Oh, I think I'm a big believer in thought, in inspiration. I'm a big believer in, what we believe we can achieve. And I think if we can all, come together with this, thought that we can make things better, I think that it will, whether it's a collective consciousness, and help them that way as well. And we, as you say, as women, if the world were run by women, I don't think this world would be in such a terrible place. And I don't think Ukraine would be in such a terrible place, because ultimately I think women have this heart that, living peacefully and living, cooperatively is the way to go. Men don't feel that way, unfortunately.
It's very sad.
It is very
We'll
sad.
go around the room, ladies. If you've got any comments, any questions for Sonia?
I just want to say to Sonia, hats off to you. 16 years of playing both roles, mom and super dad to your children.
Yes.
Just hats off to you. I salute you.
Well, I can say it was the best of times and it was the worst of times. It was very difficult. I mean, being a single mom, I owned a business. So, I had an income that could support our lifestyles. But, when a business like that is all consuming. So I had to find time I can't say I didn't have to find time. I made time for my children. And I remember I would come home from work with all the, worries on my shoulders and all the issues that I was dealing with, at work. But I would put that away. I would close my mind off to that and spend time with my children. And, I didn't bring my work home. So, we would do things like have pizza parties in the living room. It was funny because when my husband and I split up, I mean, he insisted on taking half of our goods, because that's what he was entitled to. So, there wasn't a lot that I could give up. So I gave him my living room furniture and my dining room furniture. So we had no living room furniture for 3 years. And we loved it because that was our place to have pillow fights and sit and have carpet picnics, and and just we had, it was our own little playroom. And then we got furniture. But I think what I was able to do was to help my kids see a feminine side to life that I don't know that they would have experienced if there was, male, if there was that testosterone in the house as well. So they did learn to be women centric and to be kinder, but then they also saw a very strong person as well. I had to, there was things that I had to do and decisions I had to make that, were up to me, and I didn't have somebody to share them with. So they also saw, what a strong, independent, surviving woman could do as well. So I think that's what helped them in their lives today, and how they've picked the women that they have, because their partners are all very strong women too.
Wow, that's beautiful.
That is beautiful, because I know when I made a decision to part company with my ex, one of the decisions was, what am I saying to my sons about how they should treat their wives? What was I saying to my daughter if she ever was in a position where she wasn't happy and she wanted to leave? Because traditionally in Africa, once you're married, unless you're being beaten, there's no real excuse to leave. You stick it out, you endure whatever psychological stuff you're going through. Unless you've got the scars to show that a man is beating you up, people don't understand when you make a decision to leave. So I was under a lot of pressure from family, from friends, and I left because of my kids. So they would treat a woman differently and care for her and nurture her. And again, like I said, for my daughter, to give her the option that it's okay if you're not happy. There was a quote that I read that said, when love is not being served at the dinner table, it's time to leave. And so that was it for me. And I walked away from a 27-year marriage. My whole life collapsed because of it, but slowly rebuilding and yeah, trying to make a life for myself now. So kudos to you for being an example for your sons. It's really beautiful.
I enjoyed it. I really, really did enjoy it. And I was very, as I said, it was a difficult time, but at the end of the day, as my kids grew up and I saw, the wonderful people that they turned into, and that I was, probably a big part of that reason. I was very happy that what happened. I mean, in my case, I asked my husband to leave as well, because he wasn't a good man. He didn't treat me the way I wanted to be treated. And that was a very difficult thing for me to do, because I was raised in a house where my parents didn't, there was no affection at all. And that's what I was used to in a relationship. When as I got older, that's what you expect. You learn as a child what relationships are about. So it was very difficult for me to tell my family, my mother especially. I was so terrified. I remember when I told her that we were going to be splitting up. My youngest son was 4 months old. And
Oh, wow.
I remember, when it took me months to finally get up the nerve to tell her, because when I just assumed that she would say, no, you have to stay. You have to, because that's what my mother did. She stayed for the children. And,
Yes.
and she gave up so much of her life. She gave up happiness. I mean, everybody deserves love and caring and you say nurturing, which she didn't get from my father. And so when I told her that I was leaving, I expected her to stay, say, no, you have to stay with him, because you've got children, you've got to make sure you take care of your children. And all she said to me was, she sat there and pondered. My mother would always sit there and ponder for the longest time. And then she would say, she said, you know what? That's okay. She goes, because I've always thought you could do better.
Oh,
And
wow.
that just opened everything up. I mean, this tension that was inside of me, waiting to be able to hear what I was thought I was going to hear, to hear that acceptance, like, Sonia, go out and do it because you deserve better. It was very moving, and certainly helped me go on that journey and to do what I had to do. Yeah.
Oh, that is beautiful to hear. Yeah, that's the thing. Sometimes we think our mothers don't understand, and yet they do understand. They did what they did with the conditions and the situations they were in as best they could have coped. Now, just yeah, unless you want to jump in with a question or a comment,
I'm
you want to ask something?
sitting here in awe because just hearing the strength from all of you ladies, it gives me the courage to want to be a better woman as well. Because just hearing that example of your mom supporting you in a moment where you didn't think she would, that just sparked a lot of emotion in me because this happens a lot. We are often afraid to confide in our mothers or in our aunts, whatever maternal figures are around us. And it's all to do with this idea that they are going to reject our thoughts when really, like you said, Gertrude, they only did the best with what they had at the time. And so they often admire us for taking these steps that they were not able to. So congratulations to both of you for sharing these stories because it encourages other people who are right behind you and having to make decisions like this for our futures as well.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
So before we let you go, you have been an amazing entrepreneur. You've been in the travel business. Now you're in the health and wellness business. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing now. A lot of women are looking for opportunities right now to work from home, to make a living. What is it you're doing, and how are you empowering other women to find sources of revenue from home?
Okay, good. Yes. What I have is an online e-commerce business. The company is called Arbon, and Arbon has been around for 42 years. It was started by a Norwegian chemist who decided that he wanted to come up with a company that, made very, very safe personal care products because what we're putting on our skin today, is not safe. And Arbon had that commitment that we were going to provide the purest, safest ingredients in our products. And actually, he would, when he decided to start the business in the business model that we're in, he wanted to help other people flourish. And actually his exact words were his desire was to create more women millionaires, because if there was more women millionaires in this world would definitely be a better place. So an incredible visionary, this man. So it's a company that provides, personal care products, skin care, nutrition, body care, hair care, makeup, all the things that we do wear every single day, but very, very safe. So I have a market for anybody looking for products that we are vegan, we are non-GMO, we have a very, very strict ingredient policy. So we offer products that are safe for anything from babies right to baby boomers. And again, all online. So I help people to be healthy. I mean, our products can help people to lose weight, gain more energy, and even just look better. And you know what? If you can look at yourself and like what you see, that changes your whole outlook. If you can walk out your door with a smile on your face because you feel good about how you look, that too can actually change the world. But the company goes even further. We are a B corporation, which means we're a purpose-driven company. The company has very, very strict environmental policies. We are sustainable. We harvest ethically. We have all of these very, very strong, strict policies in place, which again, with my climate change, activism, I felt was a perfect fit for me because, I like to support companies that support our planet. And this is one that definitely does. And then, of course, so I sell these products, but I also help people to start their own businesses. And this business can be started for less than $100. And you can turn this business into whatever you want. The income there's no limit on the income. And there are people today in this business that are starting their own schools. They are investing, or they're helping with orphanages. I mean, I myself am a patron of a school in Nairobi. I'm helping to support a school in Nairobi of about 30 children, and a lady that I met online as well, which was very, very cool. So, when I help people to start their own businesses, we take them through it. We hold their hands. We help them in any way we can. And you can turn this into something that will allow you the time. People, many times I find that so many people want to give back. They want to do something good, I mean, and working a 9 to 5 job or an 8 to 10 job or whatever the hours happen to be, you never have time for all those things that you've always wanted to do, whether it's to help people, whether it's just to go out and see the world and meet other people and other cultures and other places in the world. This business can help you do that, because it is a part-time thing. And as long as I have my smartphone with me, I'm in business anywhere.
That's beautiful. So I have your website running at the bottom of the screen. It's your name.arbon.com, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
So if
yes.
anybody is looking for a business opportunity for less than $100, that is fantastic. Please get hold of Sonia. Good luck with this new venture, Sonia.
Thank you. Thank you
And
so much.
we'd love to stay connected to you. I'll be meeting with you next week because I really want to do a thorough podcast interview with you and really delve into this new business that you're involved in. Because we have a lot of women in our community who are looking for opportunities right now to work from home. COVID has given us an opportunity to be able to do that. And it's flattened the world, really. When you think about this conversation we're having, I'm sitting in Australia, you girls are in Canada. The world is flat. So we need to look for these opportunities we can do online.
Yeah. And this is not only a work from home business, this is a work from the beach business. As I said, I was in Mexico last week, and and still working, because as I said, all I needed was Wi-Fi, my smartphone. So it's a great opportunity. Also helps to create leaders, because in this business you have to be a leader. You have to be able to reach down and help other people, and that's exactly what this business teaches you. So it's not even just the income alone. It's what this business helps you build inside of yourself, and becoming a better person, becoming a person that wants to share, that wants to help lead other people. That's a big part of it as well.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, Sonia. It was wonderful having you with us. Feel free to stay if you like and watch the rest of the presentations. If you have to go, we understand. So we're going to exit the stage, and Tricia, you're going to be our next speaker.
Beautiful.
Thank you, Sonia. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, here we go.
So hello again, everyone. My name is Trishan Renee Edwards. I'm affectionately known as Miss Love, and I am the founder of the Love and Light Collective and the creator of Love, Light, and Learn TV, which is a Black-focused children's YouTube learning channel. And it is based around teaching children about self-love, and also for teaching other children about how to accept and normalize Blackness, and to move away from a lot of the anti-Black practices that we are used to. Now, my journey began when I would say since I was 4 years old. At that time, unfortunately, my mom passed away from lupus, and I would say that I cultivated a very large sense of compassion ever since that happened, because I learned right away what it meant to be hurt. I learned right away what it meant to suffer loss. And I watched my father pick up all the pieces, along with the help of a lot of family members, namely his sisters, and a lot of neighbors who then decided, to make that saying of it takes a village to raise a child, to really jump in and assist with the care of my brother and I. Having said this, my dad was very integral in making sure that I was given female role models who assisted with making sure that my, what we know to be as femininity was nurtured, making sure that I always had women role models who were there to assist with any things that possibly he wasn't able to answer. And I believe that, again, that shaped me as the woman that I am today. The other thing that my dad made sure of was to show my brother and I how important it is to help others. And so we started volunteering quite a bit. We did a lot of donations for food banks. We also helped a lot with any neighborhood politics. And we assisted with one of the very first community centers in our neighborhood to that was being built at the time. So we assisted with creating a lot of the programs where actually that ended up being my first job. So at the early age of 15, I started teaching dance classes to preschoolers. And that's something that I actually never gave up. It's something that I still do to this day. And what's interesting about it is a lot of my life experiences have come from working with these children, because the children in the neighborhood had come from very many different cultural backgrounds, very many different socioeconomic backgrounds as well. And this helped to give me a better scope again of, exercising that muscle of empathy and being able to realize that we are all, as much as we have so many things that are alike about us, we are all very different as well. Having said this, I would say that through these dance lessons, I started doing a lot of social justice work, because there were little things such as children who traveled to Canada from usually Asian countries, and they were unable to speak English. And just from my 45 minutes a week with them, all of a sudden these children were speaking fluent English, just from me being able to realize that, although their English wasn't their first language, and in a lot of cases, neither of their parents could speak English either, I learned very quickly how to communicate through body language and also through music and through repetition. So, having said this, a lot of these children over the years actually had come back and thanked me for being able to help them with, in a lot of cases, learning how to speak English through and through, and in some cases, learning how to brush up on their language. Moving forward, I actually ended up getting into the beauty pageant arena. And this is a very interesting story, because I had been a university student at the time at the University of Toronto, and I was studying a double major in English and gender studies. And we were doing a unit in the gender studies about beauty and the ideals of beauty. And one of my classmates had turned to me and said, we live in this world where someone who looks like you would possibly not even be able to win a beauty pageant. Even though you're beautiful, you're not seen as what the standard of beauty is. Now, something very synchronous happened. When I went home that same evening, there was a article in the Caribbean, one of the Caribbean newspapers that we get, that showed of a pageant, a local beauty pageant within the community. It was actually within the Caribbean community that had just been launched. And I thought to myself, oh my, what are the odds of me seeing this article? And so I called the phone number on it, and I ended up being able to take part in the pageant. And I decided to use that pageant as an independent study. And funny enough, what ended up happening was my experience within that also opened up my eyes to the different ways in which women are viewed. On top of that, the different ways in which Black women are viewed, and the different nuances that happen based on the area that you live in, and also the countries that your background may be from. Uh, Having said this, I ended up placing third in the competition and winning quite a few of the other special awards, including ambassador and most improved. And what was also interesting about this is, at that time, I had never worn high heels or anything of that sort. So I was completely freshly trained. From my experience with that pageant, which was called Miss Queen of the Islands Toronto, I ended up being scouted to go for a more larger pageant, which was Miss Canada Globe. And in that, I was Miss Toronto, and I ended up winning the crown of Miss Canada Globe, which offered me the opportunity to represent Canada on an international stage. The international pageant took place in Albania. And although I did not place, I did win the Congeniality Award. And again, I would have to say that this was another microscopic view of what it really means to be a woman in the eyes of others. And I always say now that life in general is a beauty pageant because people judge you based on what you look like until you open your mouth and speak. And then, their perception of you could possibly change. So I would have to say that my experience representing Canada on that international platform was one of my most life changing ones and really assisted me with figuring out how important it is to claim your femininity, but also be able to use it in a way that assists with empowering others, whether they are women or men. After my experience with the beauty pageant world, I ended up being asked to assist with starting a couple of local pageants, and I agreed to do one of them. My heritage, my father was from Grenada and my mother was from Montserrat, and the organization that asked me to assist them with running a pageant was one of the Grenadian associations in Toronto, which is called Grenada Day. And we put together the first ever Miss Grenada Day pageant. And that was a very honorable experience for me because I was able to, at a grassroots level, assist women with, looking at very high level things for their lives. So we looked at, what things are you thinking of being when you're older, because the age range for the pageant contestants was 17 to 24. So, and a large number of them were still in high school. And so it was such an honor to be able to kind of sit with young women and really pan out what the next steps of their life would feel like. And also to give them some of the things that I was gifted with, showing them how important it is to give back to our communities, showing them how important it is to have a sense of love and appreciation for your culture. Because I think that sometimes when people like myself who are first generation, we don't always get a chance to really delve into what our background is. And as a result of that, we don't realize how much knowing our history is very important to who we become and how we contribute and to society and how we navigate through society as well. So after my experience with assisting with the Miss Grenada Day pageant, which ran for 2 years, that then laid a sense of duty upon my heart to think about ways that I can assist with children who are younger, because from my observation as well, I've noticed that a lot of children, especially within the Black community here in Toronto, do suffer with a lot of confidence issues. And this stems from a lot of different areas. But I've decided to now, at this point in time in my life, assist with giving some social justice and help towards building the confidence of Black children. And as I said earlier, making sure that other children and other people are able to accept us and see us from a normalized view. So that in a nutshell is my story. And I'm so happy to be here sharing this with you on this platform. It's such an honor. Thank you.
Again, I keep forgetting to unmute. Thank you so much. One of the things that fascinated me when I first met you is we actually have a friend in common.
Yes.
Senator Brenda Hood actually sent me a message saying how you had reconnected with her. I was so happy that that happened.
Yes, me
It just
too.
to show me that this world is much, much smaller than we actually think.
Yes. Global
We think
village.
um, the world is big. It's not. When we were talking, I don't even remember. I think it's because you mentioned you were from Grenada. And
Yes.
I told you I've been to Grenada. I have been working with the Ministry of Culture, setting up women's cooperatives there. And it turns out Senator Hood, who's the Minister of Culture, is actually a family friend of yours. So this world
Yes,
is tiny. It is
yes,
tiny.
yes. It's such a tiny space, and now with the internet, it we have so much more access to things and people, and it's such a blessing.
It sure is.
Yes.
Now, with your work with young children, young girls, yesterday we played a video, a documentary about a young girl from Norway who died from complications with anorexia.
Mhm.
Being in the beauty pageant world, the whole body self image, a lot of teenage girls are suffering because of what they see on social media, on Instagram, people posting their Photoshop pictures where they look so perfect. And when these young girls look at themselves, teenagers are starting to stop eating. Bulimia, anorexia is a big issue. It's actually causing a lot of mental health issues. What do you think is the solution to that, especially having been involved in a pageant?
Yes, that is an awesome question and something that I've actually thought a lot about most recently. I believe that typically with these types of self-image issues, they always stem from confidence as well and self-worth. Because what I find is when people have a very strong foundation and strong sense of self, it is challenging to sway away from that. Now, because of the same thing that we were just speaking of, where we've become this global village, we there's the good that comes with it and the not so good that comes with it. And this I find plays into this idea of how we see ourselves. So with a lot of these eating disorders, I believe that first it stems from, the confidence, and also in some cases it has to do with something a little deeper, with mental health issues. So
Yes.
we do need to take a very holistic approach when we are tackling and having these kinds of conversations. And I think that now we're a lot more open to doing things like therapy, to doing things like sharing. And once we have the confidence, again, I believe that almost everything comes right back around to confidence. Once we have the confidence to sit with someone and tell them the struggles that we are going through, there's always help. There's always a way out.
That's awesome. Maria, would you like to jump in here?
Yeah, it's quite interesting as you were sharing your story. I almost felt like, oh, wow, how we are so aligned. I'm very, passionate about girl children and girl child empowerment. And hearing what you're doing for girls that look like you and I and Sister Gertrude, especially being in these parts where they are not accepted, is very refreshing.
Thank you.
And my whole thing is, what else do you feel could be done where you can engage the other girls around the globe? Because your program is very intense and it's very good. And I feel girls around the globe could benefit.
Yes. Well, at this point, my goal is to make my program something that is available for anybody to access. And I believe that once again, because of the fact that we are a global village, we do need to pay attention to how interconnected we are. I think that sometimes we forget that just because something is happening on one side of the world, that it's not something that could possibly become an issue on the other side of the world. So it would be really nice to be able to cultivate a space where I can speak with girls from around the world so that we're able to share our experiences and therefore build upon the confidence and the morale of our sisters everywhere. The other thing that I would like to point to as well is, you know, these groups this is just the beginning point. I think that my main goal is to really encourage young people to have a sense of family and to have open conversations with their families, whatever that may look like. Because I find that a lot of the children that I speak with, they have opened up and said things like, I'm scared to tell this to my mom, or I'm scared to tell this to my dad. And so that's why uh, on my YouTube channel, I make it very clear that I refer to parents, first of all, or any adults, as caring adults, because I want children to feel like safe with anybody who's in their vicinity. And also because in my case, as I mentioned, my mom passed away when I was very young, and something that became very exhausting for me was having to always explain my family dynamic. My dad did remarry, and so it was tough sometimes to be have to stand up and say, this is actually my stepmother. And so, having said this, being able to cultivate a space where children feel safe around any type of caring adult, whether it's a mom, a dad, an aunt, an uncle, a teacher, a dance instructor, whomever, so that children just feel safe. I think that that's very important, and also to put importance on familial bonds, because we've really moved away from that now.
Yeah. Now, I think we've all had a very shared experience in being minorities in spaces. I grew up in Rhodesia, which was Zimbabwe before we got independence. And I went to private school my whole life. So I was always in an all white school. My sister and I were always the first two Black children in every single school we went to.
Oh,
Now, the work that you're doing with kids is really important in helping them embrace who they are, love their point of difference. I unfortunately grew up in an apartheid Rhodesia where blacks and whites didn't mix. I didn't have any friends. People didn't want to talk to me or play with me. But it did help me gain a lot of self confidence in that I started reading a lot. I know that you're very much involved with writing children's books. So I escaped into my books and I read, and it just improved my English. By the time I was 13, I was competing with students who were 18 years old
oh,
in public
wow.
speaking
Wow.
debate.
That's
So tell us
amazing.
a little bit about your books and the importance of children reading books, especially Black children seeing images of themselves.
Yes. So I do not started to share my literature as of yet. I'm working on it, but that is another big thing that I neglected to mention. That my platform is very, very, very big on pushing literacy, especially for Black children. What I've noticed again with working with children is that in the homes we are often encouraged to put a lot of emphasis on education and literacy, but then the messaging changes once we enter other spaces. So a lot of times I've noticed that Black children are being, here in Toronto at least, Black children are being pushed to do things that are more arts based, which is fine. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that, but we also should be given the tools and the empowerment to realize that we are good enough as well to be good at other things such as mathematics and writing and arithmetic and geography and history. So that's something that is very important to me, is to push being able to be well-rounded. And also I would say that's also a reflection of my own upbringing as well, because something that my dad and my stepmom were very good at was making sure that I was in some type of extracurricular activity, and it wasn't just with one thing. So I trained professionally for 17 years as a dancer. I played piano for
Wow.
for 10 years. I learned how to play the steel drums. I did a lot of different things. They had me in a speaking club, which, similar to you, I won a couple of speech awards, spelling bees. And one thing that was very, very important as well, I remember I used to cry every Saturday because my dad enrolled us in a program that was called, well, it's still around, it's called Tropicana. And they had Saturday classes that taught strictly about African and Caribbean history. And I do believe that this played a very, very integral role as well in me really having a strong sense of self. It made that little difference. So some of the struggles that a lot of young girls have today, namely Black girls, like I've had Black girls tell me straight out that they don't like their hair or they don't like the color of
Mm,
their skin. These are not things that
yeah.
I went through, but I do identify with it because even for example with the pageants, as you can see, I have dreads. And at the time I
Yes.
had the dreads as well. And I was asked many times, "Are you going to wear a wig?" And I would say, "No, I'm not." And I do realize that because of the fact that I entered the pageant as a project, I also was looking at it differently. I didn't expect to win any of those awards. It was just very natural for me. And having said that, literacy, going back to the core of the question, literacy is very important to me, and just being a well-rounded human being is important. So yes, later this year though, I'm hoping that I should be able to actually release my literature. I've been shy about it, but now I'm realizing that the best time to do anything is now.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, you're right about being all rounded. I was very good in the arts. You could give me anything to do with English literature, geography, history. I had a mind that could read a piece of text and I could recite it in the next minute. However, my father pushed me to be a first generation coder. My first profession was in computers.
Oh wow.
I am a first generation coder. I program computers in BASIC, Pascal, and COBOL back in the day when computers were starting.
Wow.
And I remember my confidence was built by being sent to the city. So Maria and I come from the same town, and we'll talk about that in a minute when she starts sharing her story. Our little town is in the very middle of Zimbabwe. If you blink coming from the capital city to the second largest city and you drive past our town, you will miss it. That's how small it is.
Wow.
So my dad would put us on a bus every school holiday and send us to the capital city at the age of 16, and he would force us to apply for jobs but not take them. He would say the
Hmm.
corporate world is white. When you need to get that first job, you're going to stand in front of a white people person and speak. So just to build our self-confidence, we would apply for jobs and not take them.
That is
So
incredible.
that school day, I got my first job. I could have been an air traffic controller. In fact, I wanted to be a pilot. I was going to fly out of Zimbabwe if it meant I flew the plane myself. So I went and did an aptitude test to become a pilot and passed, but they failed me on the height restriction. So I'm not a very tall person. I was about 1.3
Oh,
meters at the time. I'm 1.5 now as a full adult, so I'm very short. So they, they disqualified me based on my height. I passed everything,
wow.
but just on the height restriction, they said I was too short, so I couldn't go and be a pilot. Then they told me to do the aptitude test to be an air traffic controller. I did that and I passed. I went and had an interview to become a nurse and a COBOL programmer and an air hostess. Again, the air hostess was I was going to get on a plane and get out of Zimbabwe in some way. So when it came to making the decision on which job to choose, my mother was a nurse, but I faint at the sight of blood. And my dad said, "You could never be a nurse. Let's cross that off." So that came off the list. Air traffic controller, he said, "You'll be sitting in a tower watching the planes coming and going. You'll be bored stiff." We crossed that off the list. Then he said, "An air hostess, it's great to have that beautiful uniform." So back in the day, air hostesses, or what are called, what do you call them now?
Flight
Um,
attendants.
Flight
Flight
attendant.
attendants. They
Yes.
used to wear boots. They used to wear these high boots, and I wanted the boots. I wanted the short skirt and the boots. And my dad said, "You will look beautiful, but an air hostess is a waitress in a moving hotel." You'll be running around taking care of people. He said people will vomit and you have to clean up after them. He really painted a horrible picture. So that came off the list. And then he said there's a thing called a computer. My father didn't even know what a computer was. But because he was an accountant, he knew what an adding machine was and a typewriter. And he said it's a combination of these two things, and technology is the way to go. So I became a first generation coder because of my dad. And I am eternally grateful to him. I wasn't a very good programmer because I have ADD. I can't sit in front of a computer terminal for too long and code. I did it for 2 years. And then my boss realized I was really good with speaking with people. And I was sent to do a course. And I ended up as a systems analyst and a business analyst. And I could interact with people. So I had a very strong base. I knew how to program. And then working with people and designing their computer systems is what I did for the 13 years I was in IT. So you're very, very right in terms of allowing children to explore the full range of what they can be.
Yes, because you don't want to limit yourself, and that's something that again, my dad I didn't mention, he also passed away, and this was in 2018. And I would say that my dad was exemplary of that as well, because here in Toronto, he was one of the first people to have a live band play in the CN Tower. But that was his evening thing. But in the daytime, my dad was an immigration consultant and a paralegal, and then became a justice of the peace. So he showed me that you don't have to stick with one thing, and you should always do the things that make you happy. And he always used to say as well, there's no such thing as a plan B. It's either you work at something, and then if that doesn't work out, then you have a new plan A. We're not dealing with this plan B stuff. You gotta, when you're doing something, put your whole heart into it. And another thing that I neglected to mention as well is I suffered with, as a woman, and I feel it's very important to share this, especially because we're still in Women's Month. I suffered with fibroids. And at a young age, it was something that was ignored for many different reasons. Even with, you go into the doctors, you tell them there's an issue, and they don't take your concerns seriously until one night I was in a lot of pain, and my dad had to use a few expletives to get them to check me out properly. And next thing I knew, I was having surgery. So having said this, having survived something like this, and also understanding the importance of being a woman and having to actually speak up for yourself. So confidence plays into this as well. Perhaps if I had spoken up more, because sometimes we think that just because someone's in a position that may seem higher than you, which in this case would be medical professionals, you know your body best. So if you know that you're not feeling well, and the doctors or the medical professionals are not listening, we have to use our voice. And that's why, for me, confidence is a huge thing. And it's something that I take with me every day.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being here with us today and sharing your amazing story.
Thank you.
We look forward to playing with you. I want to buy those books for my little grandson.
Yes, once they're out, I'll let you know.
Yeah, books that have an image that looks like him. I think it's really important work we're doing right now.
Thank you
Thank you so much. So you can stay with us. We'd love you to hang around and listen to Maria's story. If you have to go, we understand. But my next speaker is the beautiful Maria Mbanga. I just absolutely adore this girl. We go way, 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 way back. And you're like my little sister. You used to play with my little brothers when you were small. The stage is yours, my sister. We'll let you speak for 15 minutes, and then we're going to come on and ask you questions. I know that Jerry is coming in about a minute's time. She's going to be an hour late today. So Jerry is dying to meet you too. So for those of you who don't know, Maria was one of the first women who came to be a part of the HerStory movement in Las Vegas when I launched this amazing organization. And we've been trying to have a reunion with all of the original speakers. So people have been popping in, especially this week. I've managed to reconnect with a lot of the original crew. So the stage is yours, Maria. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Wow, it's always an honor. It's always an honor. And, Sister Gertrude forgot to say, I'm never one to talk about my story, but I hope today, in sharing just a snippet of my journey through this journey that we call life, I'll be able to leave the young girls and women inspired that we are not defined by yesteryear or the scars that we may have carried throughout this journey called life. So once again, my name is Maria Magdalena Mbanga Mashimavi, born and raised in Zimbabwe, 23 years in North America. Wow, what a blessing. I'm only so ever grateful. We always talk about children who are born and are given names, but I'll tell you what, when I was born, ours was a tradition where my father named us after his sisters. Mom would give us a Ndebele name, but most of the time, birth recording officers would find writing the Ndebele name difficult. And that's how I became to be known as Maria. But my mother note, she was pregnant when my grandmother on the paternal side, my paternal grandmother, passed on. This is how I became to be called Maria Magdalena. But then there was the name that my mother gave me unwittingly, which symbolized one with a big heart, Gnosis. I bet most of you have never heard of that one before. So there's something that you learned about me. So the one with the big heart, as I said, I guess as I grew up, I became everything that my grandmother was, with all her traits. And yet at the same time, my mother, may her soul rest in peace, became a very big influence. A spiritual woman whose heart was as big as Africa. My childhood was a sweeping cyclone. I went through 5 schools in a period of 3 years across 3 regions, Slovela, Gokwe, and Kwekwe. And in those 3 years, spanning my being 6 years to 8, I saw what was different from what we had as a family. Those 3 years was a child who walked to school playing and dancing my way to school, experiencing the innocence of childhood. And then mine eyes did not escape the inequality of lifestyle that bordered around me. There were days our father would drive us to school and drop us at school. Believe me, I shunned those days because they deprived me playing games with other girls to and from school. But then our dad would pick us up from school. At home in Gokwe, I saw my mom get her labor for the fields from mothers of my former classmates. It was the money they used to pay fees for those classmates of mine. My parents had opted to leave Slovela, the area under the jurisdiction of Chief Ruya, who was my grandfather, opting to stay in Gokwe amid the Shangwe people, as Zimbabwean aliens and locals called them Maderuka. In Gokwe, I saw girls and boys who did not go beyond primary education, as they went as far as 7th grade. Now, I want you to imagine what that must have been like. It was confusing for me. I saw many girls my age mature too quickly. And the great divide grew. Having enjoyed my earlier years, I was moved to Kwekwe Junior School. That one was a first for me because the setup was a bit interesting. There were white children. It was a skewed setup, if I may say. Funny too. We were Black children, those in a minority, in what was a white school, as my 8-year-old self would say. As we know, dreams compel us to blaze unique paths toward our true purpose. Who was I to have become and felt as if life depended on these perceptions? But I made one solid promise. I was going to change the world. Now that was at the age of 9. One may wonder, at 9 years old, you wanted to change the world? You could just sweep it away, right? But that's a promise I've kept till today as I've become an adult. My journey to adulthood thus began. Our games changed. I became more intentional and purposeful. I had to grow beyond the vision. Remember, I had a vision I carried from age 10. I did not like what I saw. There was something grossly wrong with it and with this picture. Because of that inborn competitive edge, I became highly noticeable in high school. I became a leader and liked by all, but note I use this very loosely. I began to see selective affection. I saw love that did not go round. The only difference for me then was I had stayed longer in this city that became our home and is still my home. My high school years were a shaping moment. My mother showed us great love than we had ever seen. My dad, the business was struggling. He spent so many times away from home. We saw mom's relatives come handy. They chipped in whenever they could. We saw mom, the housewife, sustain the home with prayer and unending resilience. Typical of African mothers. They conceal so much and keep the smile on. And I'm sure most of us can relate to that. Knitting, farming, and keeping us growing. As I excelled on the sports arena, played for my country, wore those colors, I also came across landmines and bumps because I was simply a Black girl. Thanks to the royalty that came from my mom and dad's side, we had been made disciples of a Shona proverb that translated a king's child is a subject in another territory. That had been our mantra on humility and fitting anywhere. Ours was about hard work and self-made. Inheritance was not an option. We were told it was just a bonus. So I worked hard and fought my way. Yes, there were things I was denied because I was just too assertive and just wanted to explain and validate my rights. But hey, I was a granddaughter of Chief Benjamin Ruya. And in our tradition and Shona Ndebele translation, a king is a king because of the people. Simply put on, be king only if you preside over people and they are happy. So leadership and empathy were ingrained in me. It was part of my makeup and my DNA. And I knew there was so much and more. But that only crystallized when I took up the teaching job at Domburamwari, God's boulder. As a young teacher full of energy, I was teaching in a firebrand of Zimbabwe. If you have seen poverty, if you have heard poverty, then I urge you to take a visit to Epworth and at Domburamwari. Everything about that setting was somehow defied the odds. What hope did these girls and boys have? And there I stood in their midst as a teacher of English literature, let alone the children did not have the books. How could I teach Shakespeare to students who had no books? And it was just not the books. They lacked so much and more, but I did not allow that to be something that would deter these young girls and boys. I was here and had been placed there for a reason. A play from Shakespeare's collection, I thought, how ironic. I was actually going to teach Harvest of Thorns, a book that had been written by Shima Chinojga, who was a neighbor in my village, was our neighbor in our village home in Gokwe. That is when the seed of helping the disadvantaged laterally resided in me and kept on repeating itself many a time. Domramari, God's builder, became the catalyst to the promise that I hold today. As an adult, as a woman, I thus became a woman on a mission, a commando on a mission of no return, to give hope and to the future of the girl child. I saw myself as the mother and sister to children on the four corners of the world, driven by the pangs of children I did not carry in my womb, but remained a mother to them. The irony and true symbolization of who Maria Magdalena is, Ave Maria, one would say. Amid all, the journey has not been easy. I did not allow anything to hold me back. And it is the same plea I make to any young girl who has a dream and a vision, and any woman who resides or comes from a marginalized community. You are not who you are and defined by your experiences. You are much more. You are much more. Believe in that. You have to have the faith and the drive. The same faith that I resonate with, that I see through memory now as I recall and see my mother only in dreams. It is the same drive that I urge any young girl that may look like me to say it is possible. I, as an example, one who lived in a very small town, like always Sister Gertrude says, if you just had to blink from the capital city and to the next biggest city, it was very easy to miss our small town. But we are here to showcase and to show that it is possible as long as you believe. Faith is believing and trusting in that what you cannot see. But sometimes, whilst I could not see where all this was leading me to, there were moments I questioned my faith. But in the midst of it all, I would hear my mother's voice, a silent murmur cheering me on. This was a reminder to self that nothing came out of nothing, and nothing was for free. One must work tirelessly and hard if one is to enjoy the fruits. Sometimes you must work and toil like a slave, like a donkey, in order to live like a queen. You are wondering why and how that is utterly impossible. Actually, utterly possible, if I may say. If you believe in that dream, then it will be. It will come to fruition and manifest itself. But you have to work hard. Today, as a founder and leader of 6 chapters in almost 5 continents around the globe, with one mission: to bring hope to one woman, one girl at a time. I believe that collectively we are hope. Those small acts of kindness that were ignited at a tender age of 10 and were made to become a reality when I taught at Lomboramwari Secondary School in the peri-urban city in Harare, have served as a constant reminder to the woman that I am today. That if only I can share a bit of myself, and the acts of kindness will multiply. If only I can be a figment of hope to a one girl, then my job is done. Because I believe this will replicate. And this will, in the collective, make a change in many girls. I deliberately called my organization Hope for Her Global. It is what it has become to be known. 13 years ago, the name was Woman Arise. But I remember the journey I took, like Sister Gertrude said, in 2019, when we launched in Las Vegas, I took a journey back home. It was there I was faced with poverty right looking back at me. But I remember, as she said, one of my beloved will be joining us, Jerry, the pads that she had offered, and I remember promising Jerry that she was a guardian angel to girls. She had given them dignity to be able to call themselves women, because a period is a physiological change in a girl child, and one she cannot do away with. I remember sitting in the darkness. The only light we had was through our cell phones. When a grandmother, I'll never forget her, who had come old, she was visiting her relative in Kwekwe, but she came from Chivu. She said to me, if only you can give me just 5, and I can take them back home, because my dear daughter, many need these. I was taken aback, and I looked at this grandmother, and immediately we knew something had to be done. May not any other day, but it had to be done. I remember going through the packets, dividing and sharing them, and making these young girls and that grandmother out of Chivu go home with something to give and to restore the dignity in the girl child. That's what 2019 did. But I thought this was just for the girls, and Jerry and I had agreed it was for the girls. But I realized the women needed it. And this is what saw the birth of Hope for Her. And it has become Hope for Her. All the entities have now become called Hope for Her, because it is the hope that we give to one woman, one girl, one community around the world, through your acts of kindness, through Jerry's acts of kindness, through the brilliance of Gertrude, one woman who took a risk and built a movement. It was one woman. And today we are here, still sharing our stories, still putting emphasis on the importance of our stories, the power that we have. So it's not so much that my story is just but a taste or figment of what you are supposed to imagine. And I leave you in suspense But the emphasis of it all is the power of what it can do. It will serve as inspiration. It will serve as motivation. It also serves as the strength that you and I and many others hold through the power of our stories. So today I'll take a minute to pay tribute to a woman who made us realize the strength in the power of those stories. Gertrude Mache. I want to pay this tribute to you. When you took the step that you took boldly and not knowing what this would create, today I am on this platform to reaffirm to you, my sister, a lot was born out of that you launched. Authors were birthed. Creators were birthed. But more so, you gave women the power to own their stories. You gave them the power to believe that they could be more than what their stories could have been. You gave them back their voices. You gifted them chances which others took. You may not be rewarded with an Oscar for what you created or a Grammy, but this that you created is something special. It's a legacy that I want you to hold on to dearly. You spread the light. You reminded women globally that they too are worthy. They too are bold. One of the things you've always said is the mission was to turn what was impossible and make it possible in the reverse. If lest I remind you, my sister, I pay homage, I pay tribute to you and to all the women around the globe. And for a change, I want to celebrate you on your own platform to say you birthed what is beyond words. You birthed what will live on even after you are gone. But Gertrude, when you shared your story, when you built HerStory, you were building a movement, and it will grow beyond mountains. It will grow beyond the seas, and it will reach the 1 million. And I think it has already surpassed that. Believe, my sister, do not lose hope. This is HerStory, and I've been honored to be on this platform, to share a part of my journey, but to pay particular tribute to the woman who founded HerStory. And I want to celebrate you on your own platform and let the world know that you are the one who trailblazed this. You gave us the opportunity, and we thank you immensely.
Maria, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. I am humbled. Wow.
I did
Yeah.
whatever you said, Maria. Amazing.
You know,
so good to see you.
It's good to see you, Jerry. It's good to see you.
Thanks.
It's good to see you.
Oh my gosh, my heart is full. You know, when we all met in Las Vegas, it's almost 3 years ago. It was like a dream, right? You remember the issues we had just to pull off the first event, finding our first venue 48 hours before the conference started. And now we can look back and this baby is real. It's in the world. It has legs. It's walking. It's like, I'd been pregnant for a while, and now the baby is walking.
Not the 9 months, not 9 months, but kind of the elephant gestation period, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's so true. That is so true. So thank you, Maria, for the acknowledgement and just your energy. And you always come back with a very full force.
Yes.
Thank you for being with us today.
Your
So the
story is
beautiful
very
Gigi has
moving.
joined us. Just here, please chime in here. Comments, questions, anything.
Yes, I was just saying that your story is so moving and so beautiful and so pure. So thank you very much for sharing.
I want to thank you. Sister Gertrude put me on a spot, and she knows. And Jerry, you all know I'm not one to share my story because I say there's a purpose. But
Yeah.
I'm also one to acknowledge that there's power in our stories. And, you know, I can never say or stress enough. Sister Gertrude, you're not one to validate self. But, 3 years ago, and I want the world to know that. It's showing this young girl who grew up in a small town taking the risk. She flew from New Zealand, and I want everybody to envision that. And you are in a city, Las Vegas, everything stays in Vegas. She's right, 48 hours. We had to come up with a venue. But that's where it goes to what she always says. We were there to create something that may have been termed as impossible and making it possible. This is where we met Jerry, and just amazing. And, you know, I can give you examples, Sister Gertrude, of what came out of that. Like I've said, brilliant authors, filmmakers. They came from her story. And
Awesome.
it's just been a journey. It's been a journey. And it's more special for me to be on this platform at this time, 2 years after COVID, when everything was almost uncertain,
Yeah.
but you never gave up.
And we continued staying connected on this virtual platform. We've got people chiming in from everywhere. Andrea's coming in from Florida today. Thank you for your message. Faith is in Sydney, Australia. She said, loving your story, Maria.
I just
Terry's coming in from the US. It's an honor to be a member of the tribe. So Terry, Maria, and myself are co-authoring a book with Dr. Telenai Trent. So it has been phenomenal. I think the biggest lesson for me in the last 3 years is if you have a vision that feels like it's bigger than you, it's hard to articulate and express it and share it with other people. But the thing is just to hold on to the vision. It guides you. It makes me wake up every single morning. I mean, was it yesterday, Jerry, when I overslept and you were here alone and you called me at 7 o'clock, like, Gertrude, where are you? And I had been online for 27 days. I was just so exhausted. I didn't wake up on time, but you woke me up and we did our thing. And we have just kept going for 30 straight days.
Wow.
Amazing. Yes.
Tomorrow will
That
be
is
day
awesome.
31. But the thing that I've learned is to be a leader, it's the first group of women who step up and follow you who are the true leaders. It's you, Maria. It's you, Jerry. It's that original group of women who saw the vision of what I was trying to create. And I honor you because you stepped forward and you were vulnerable and you shared your stories with the world. And that's what created this platform. Without you, there would be no movement, I would be one lonely, crazy woman trying to bring something in the world. But it's the others who see the vision, who say, yes, I see it. I'm with you. I follow. You are the true leaders. I mean, you girls have been with me from the very beginning and you haven't given up. And you know that there's a lot of people who've dropped out of the circle, who went and started their own thing, but you hold on to this vision and you're with me here today to celebrate it. So I honor you because without you, there would be no movement. That's the honest truth.
That day in Las Vegas was my very, very first time speaking on a platform. I'd never ever spoken on one. I was so nervous that it wasn't that I was nervous. It's just I was so into telling my story that I told that day, and so much so I was speaking about my mother leaving. I was 6 years old, and as I was speaking, I was, you know how you take a security blanket. I was rubbing my skirt between my fingers, like a little, like I felt like I was 6 years old telling you the story. I was that into it, and it amazes me how comfortable I feel about it now. Now it's like, oh yeah, I can do this. Back then, I had a mentor that just convinced me I could do it. And since I published my book, I've had lots of opportunities to share that story and the book. And again, that day was a turning point in my life as far as knowing what I can do. I mean, I knew I could do what I did with Grandma all those years ago. That was easy. No one was looking at me. I got up on that stage, and and of course you booked me right between Dr. Tan and another doctor, and I thought, oh my God, how am I supposed to speak before and after these two ladies? But I felt, I felt confidence. I've learned since the whole Umbuchu is why that happened. I didn't have any idea about. I mean, there's so much I didn't know about, and I just felt like I was there with sisters when we all got up on that stage and danced. I was like, oh my goodness, this is what been looking for so many years, and here I am. And so I'm never going to let go.
And Ubuntu is such a simple, basic principle, a way of being. When we greet in Southern Africa, we say Sabona, which means I see you. And it's not the seeing of sight, it's an acknowledgement of your humanity and mine. And that's what we try and do with the HerStory movement is we are here just to be the witness to the stories.
Mm-hmm.
We're here just to create a safe space for women's stories to be heard, for the stories to breathe.
Right.
We've had sad stories. Like yesterday, Jerry, you remember we brought on all of those South African women.
Oh, yeah.
Who are dealing with difficulties from being raped, from looking after children who've been abused and raped, to women who have had really difficult lives and are still in the middle of it right now as we speak.
Yeah.
But these are stories that would never air.
Yeah.
Any TV station. They're stories that they happen every single day and nobody ever hears about them.
The amazing thing about that, though, is not only just hearing their stories, but knowing where they've come since then, knowing that they are now healing, being able to be healed, and now they're sharing with others or serving others, and that service is gives them a strength. I always have believed if you need to lift your spirit, serve someone, because that's how you do it. You turn around and you serve someone. And every one of those stories, I've been riveted. I didn't get to come to the beginning of the month because I was going through some medical treatments. But ever since I've been on, I was like, oh, I wish I hadn't missed those first, 20 days. But it's
You're here in spirit. You were here in spirit. You would send me messages on WhatsApp every morning.
Yeah.
I knew you were here. I knew your heart was with us. And I'm just so happy that you're bouncing back. You've gone through your treatment. And we're here for you, Jerry. We need you.
Thank you. Thank you.
We need you. This has been an amazing morning. Absolutely amazing. And so, Trishana, now you see what this movement is about.
Yes.
You're now our little baby sister who we are taking in our arms. You're not alone in the world. You have just met three more sisters, and wait until you see the rest of the tribe.
Yes, I'm blown away by this. It really is an honor to be here, and I really hold on to the sentiment of the fact that telling our stories is very important for healing. It's the only way. So thank you so much.
True.
And
Yeah, we
Sister Gertrude, you do know we are making plans to go home. And there was something that I was going to share with you, and I might as well say now is, we hoping as Hope for Her, together with Women Arise, and of course, Her Story, to really still put something in the physical. So you and I will still, that dream is to still live to what I promised you. And that's one thing I've promised, that I'll keep my promise to whatever I promised. So yes, Zimbabwe will get a feel. And I know Sister Ruth is out there, but I would really love us to still do what we had set ourselves to do 2019, to bring that in the reality, in the physical, in Africa. Just you mentioning the South African women, we have our chapter also in South Africa, out of Cape Town. And interesting enough, we were talking about a project that we've just embarked, which is the Power of the Chicken, where we are looking at women that are in the marginalized communities, and the women that are survivors of gender-based violence, and giving them a second chance, where we just, through a small investment, where you're sitting into them investing in the chickens, because there's power in that.
We've been hearing about that the last few days.
saying that because my parents' plot.
Yes.
John and I have set up a training center where we're training women to rear chickens. We now have about 500 women who have already
Are you
registered.
serious?
Yeah.
I'm
so
serious.
cool.
So we're doing
I'm
it in
excited.
Kwekwe. We're doing it in Kwekwe, and what we want to do is rear the chickens for eggs and start a feeding program in the rural schools so children get breakfast. And when the old chooks are old, we kill them for the meat, and we can have a lunch program as well. So we've got a couple of investors who've come on board to help us really scale throughout Zimbabwe and Southern Africa. And as far as the project with Jerry is concerned, we have a group of women coming out of not New York, New Jersey, who are coming with us to Zimbabwe in September. So they're going to fly through Riverside, pick up all of the equipment that Jerry has collected, all of those pads, and they are coming with us to Zim in September. And we're going to have a HerStory conference in Victoria Falls.
Okay.
To celebrate the creation of a women's cooperative. We're training women to make the pads in Zim. So we're collecting money now for more sewing machines, more overlockers. Jerry will be running a workshop to train the women how to cut and make the pads. So we're going to create employment in all of the villages around the menstrual product so that our girls stay in school, they have access to menstrual pads. So a lot has happened since we last talked, Maria.
I am excited. I am excited to hear that, because it's interesting, when that's what they say, when you're aligned, because we right now to date, working with women in South Africa, in Zambia and Zimbabwe, and seeing how Her Story, with the projects you're on, there's certain where there's need. So you see how, whilst we champion gender-based violence and education, there is room where Her Story, with such awesome projects, can still also embark on the same, so that when Maria goes home, she's also looking at what needs to be looked at for Her Story. You can't get rid of me in Her Story, unfortunately. So these are things that I always say, there's power in collaboration. Just like when Trisha, and I've got your information, because when we have the Girls Summit, there is your opportunity to share with the girls around the globe, because that's what we do. We bring girls, and I feel you're integral in this. And Sister Gertrude, you are busy doing the Hilandale plot, and I'm doing the same thing in Gokwe. So you see, I had to convince my siblings to turn what was a big business center what your parents owned, and say, look, if this is the way we're going to give back, then let's make this a community center.
Yeah.
So when you talk of the pads, so Jerry, the same work that we were doing, we have something in Gokwe which is primarily waiting. So Sister Gertrude, you see how God aligns these things. Kwekwe
Yeah.
and Gokwe, it's an hour away.
Oh,
So
way.
the
Yeah.
opportunity where there can be a warehouse is there.
Yeah. Oh,
Do you
that's
see
Mm.
now where I'm going with that? The
yeah.
power of the collaborative act. It's not so much where we go as silos, but it's where we are
Yeah.
saying, look at this. She's doing this in the urban. And I want
Yeah.
people to understand where I'm going with that. Her mother and father, may their souls rest in peace. And it just shows how humble we are as Quakarians, right? I hope Tawanda and them are listening in, because you and I, when we go home, I hope we can sit them down. So when you have that picture now, you have it in the city. And I am saying I am preparing a setting in the rural.
Rural area. Yeah.
Now,
It's
when you
just
look at this story, Midlands province, it-
we're in the center of the country. We're
exactly.
going in the
What does
heart of
that mean?
Zimbabwe. Yeah. The
What
ripple
does that
effect will
mean?
go from there.
Do you see where we're going with that, Sister Gertrude? So, Jerry, because I once called you what I called you in your home, I said you are a guardian angel to many girls and women, truly to that effect. This project can develop, Sister Gertrude, where you are. And if you look at Shurugwe, it's around the corner as well. And
Yeah.
that is where the women's prison is, been
Mm.
there,
We talked
visited.
about
So all these things have been aligned, Sister Gertrude. I did not shelve them. So both you and Jerry will know that. I never shelve anything I put my mind to. It was the timing. But
Yeah,
Sister
the
Gertrude,
timing has to be
it
right.
gave us an opportunity for you to grow, for us to grow. And I'm just looking at you and reminding you that Gokwe is rural.
Yeah.
Kwekwe is urban.
Yeah.
And that's the homework I leave you.
Absolutely wonderful.
Great.
What a beautiful morning, ladies. Yesterday I saw a post on LinkedIn, and I'll just share my screen. Just for those of you who never use social media, who don't use LinkedIn, LinkedIn is a powerful place to find the right people. So somebody shared a post of this young woman. Her name is Ray Mitchell. She's a Harvard Law School graduate who turned into an entertainment lawyer and has partnered with Cindy Brown, who's an Olympic gold medalist and a former WNBA player, to launch Boise 53 Entertainment, which is a Black-owned media company that will create film, TV projects, producing content about social justice and racial equality. And I just plucked up the courage yesterday to reach out to her and received this message this morning. So I sent her my pitch video for the app that I'm building for HerStory. She said, very impressed. We'll look at my schedule and look forward to booking a time on your show and chatting further. So the power of social media, the vision that I have for HerStory going forwards is to turn it into a reality TV show where we share the backstories of all of our members, all of the projects they're involved in. We'll do a documentary about Jerry, how she got her church community for 1 year to come into her home and turn her home into a factory to produce 1,000 kits for our girls in Zimbabwe, and the reason why she did that. We'll go to you, Maria, and we'll go to Gwokwe and see the original home that your parents have left for you to be able to do this work. We'll go to my parents' home. So we're going to be documenting the stories of all of the HerStory movement women. And instead of people voting for the best speaker, we will present and share our stories just like American Idol or The Voice. But instead of people voting for us, we will crowdfund for each of these projects. So most reality TV shows, people end up with millions of followers, millions of people following them through social media. Why can't we turn those millions of followers into a crowdfunding campaign? If people gave us $1 each, we could raise $1 million for you, Maria, in a heartbeat, if the story could be projected further than where you are on your own. So that's where our movement is going. The idea came during COVID because New Zealand closed its borders to everyone. I'm still stuck in Australia for almost a year. So I can go back home now in April. But while I was here, I heard that New Zealand had opened the borders for filmmakers and health workers. And because I'm a filmmaker, I thought, let me create a reality TV show, bring people to New Zealand. So we will film your backstories in your country of origin. Then we're going to bring you to New Zealand and we will tour the North and the South Island of New Zealand and film you speaking and going through this competition. I will get my grant back from the Department of Tourism because I'll be showcasing New Zealand as a country. So some exciting things are happening. And, all of this just started with one idea to share women's stories. And now I've just started magnetizing and attracting the people who are helping us grow the movement and really, broadcast these stories in a much bigger way than we have been able to do so far. So for all of you who have kept showing up and kept sharing your stories, that was just the beginning. The work is starting now. The work is going to start now. So I'm just so excited to, where we're going. So we're going back now to all of the original storytellers and enrolling them in the vision of the reality TV show. We'll film 10 episodes. I'm hoping that our film ends up on Netflix or on Oprah's network, because Oprah has really been my inspiration for doing what I'm doing. When I watched the Oprah show in 2004, I went back to Zimbabwe and started helping the orphan children in my immediate family. It turned into a foundation. And so there's big things coming. I'm really excited about where our movement is going. So we will move on to our next speaker, another Canadian woman. It's funny, today it was all about Canada.
Oh, Canada. Woo.
I'm not even sure how this happened, but I met this amazing young woman yesterday. She came on LinkedIn. I've been chatting with her on LinkedIn for a few days, and we thought, okay, let's meet for a virtual coffee. And the minute she started talking, I said to her, do you mind if I record this and share it tomorrow? She said, yes, by all means. So thank you so much, Maggie, for your contribution to our movement this morning. You're an amazing young woman. Now, Maggie is based in, I need to make sure I get her city right. She is based in Toronto. Her name is Maggie Anandrand. She is a content creator. So like us, another amazing storyteller. She is a cocktail of many nations. I think her parents are from Haiti. She's lived all over the Caribbean, but I will let her tell her story, and then we will have another Q&A session and give us some feedback. So just hold on to your seatbelts, ladies. I will be back in 15 minutes after Maggie's interview.
All right.
I'll be with you in a second, just queuing up the video. Oops, wrong one. And here we go. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the HerStory TV and the HerStory podcast. This is Gertrude Mache here in beautiful Melbourne, Australia. And today I am graced with the presence of yet another fascinating young woman. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our tribe. Please tell everybody your full name, where you're based, how old you are, and share your story with us today.
Thank you so much for this invitation and for this opportunity. So, my name is Margaret Land. I'm currently based in Toronto. I am 27 years old, and my story, it's an interesting one. I guess where I could start is I came to Canada as an international student. I was in Newfoundland for school, and throughout that process, I got to learn a bit more about myself and also explore more of my creativity. So I've always had a fascination with like telling stories with moving pictures. So if y'all remember the days of Movie Maker, that was me. I was using those things to, kind of put video stories together, and that translated into me starting my YouTube channel and advancing my skills a bit more. So yeah, currently a full-time content creator on YouTube, but I also work full-time in project and program coordination for a nonprofit organization.
Fantastic. I did start to cyber stalk you when we first met. I went online. I've watched all of your videos. Absolutely fascinating to see what you are doing using that platform and creating content that's going out to thousands and thousands of people.
Thank you
So
so much.
you told me that part of your inspiration in starting the channel was because people from home, you're from Belize originally, correct?
Guyana.
Okay. So people were asking you questions. How did you get to Canada? How did you do this? And you started creating the videos because you kept repeating yourself, right?
Yes, yes. Yeah, so pretty much, I would have people asking me the same questions, how to apply for school in Canada, how to pick a school, because I wanted them to make an informed decision. Just because I went to this school doesn't mean it was a fit for them. So I kind of guided them of the process of what I did, and just, for it to be informational enough for them to then do their further research, and then they just applied some of the things that I said to their situation. Some of them did end up coming to my school, so I did make a couple of friends like through the internet and then met them in person through my channel. So that was pretty cool. And from doing that kind of content, I kind of switched and pivoted to doing content now that's based around cultural education. And that was really inspired because where I was, it was predominantly white. And a lot of us who were from different countries, like if we were from continental
Hey, on
Africa
the
or
SAG
parts of the
Awards.
Caribbean, we noticed that people would group us together if we looked a certain way. So a lot of people voiced that, they wanted to other people to know about their country. There's more to the Caribbean than just Trinidad and Jamaica. There's more to Africa than just Nigeria or Ghana. Like there are other African countries. So some of them share that sentiment, and I'm like, I think I want to explore this some more because I just always had a fascination with cultures, being from a diverse background myself.
Fantastic. Well, it's amazing to see what you've done with this platform. Being a content creator on YouTube, take us through a step-by-step process, what that means, what it entails for you to have a successful YouTube channel.
Oh wow, that's a very interesting question. I actually talked about this the other day with some folks. But really, it's all about first knowing your why, because that will help to guide the, I guess you could say, the direction of your channel. And if you want to change or pivot the way I did, it will be easier for you to do that because your why will always remain the same. I wanted to create a platform to be, having information that's accessible, a safe space for people to find information. So whether I decided to switch the type of content I did, it was still my why. It remained the same. I would definitely say that, YouTube is a different kind of beast. So if you're thinking about doing YouTube and you want to, grow at a faster rate, you kind of want to see other results in a more quicker way, you're going to have to be realistic about what your schedule is like. How often can you post videos? So if you only think you can do once a month, then you shouldn't really be looking too much for rapid growth. So the consistency is definitely an important thing, but also the planning of your content. Find a way to have related topics that you can record so that they can flow and you have people coming back to your channel to watch because it's like one topic after the next that is like connected in a sense. Yeah. So that's one of the
Wow.
advice I would give.
So tell me a little bit about your background. How many are you in your family? Are you the only one who's out of the country living overseas?
So I'm here on my own in Toronto, but my brother is also in Canada. He's in Newfoundland. So my background, I am originally from Guyana, but I grew up in Jamaica, and my parents are from Haiti.
Oh, wow.
So I guess it makes sense, with the content I do as well. There's a lot of, cultural mix up in the household. So I guess you could say that was also something I wanted to explore a bit more and kind of came out in my channel.
That's fantastic. So are you bilingual? Do you speak English and French?
So I'm trying to relearn French because I did a minor in it in school, but I quickly lost practice. They say you have to practice. But I do know Haitian Creole, like I can help myself because I have family back home in Haiti. So I'm still able to like communicate with them and stuff like that.
Oh, that's fantastic. And now your fascination with food. I've seen you interviewing different people with different food. Tell me a little bit about that.
Of course. So last summer I decided to kind of kill two birds with one stone. So I went around the city of Toronto to find different restaurants that I felt they brought a cultural cuisine to Toronto, and also to help bring awareness to supporting small businesses, and so people know, right now we're on a lockdown, but there's still a way for you to explore cultures through food. Here are a few places you can go to. So it's called Kitchens of Toronto. That's the name of the series, and I ended up having 6 interviews representing 6 different countries. So you
Oh,
can
wow.
find Nigeria, there's Haiti, the Netherlands, Hungary, Mexico, Brazil. I don't think I'm forgetting any. I think I had 2 episodes that featured one country. That might be how I have 6. But yeah, it was 6 in total.
I
Yeah.
absolutely love it. And they do say that if you really want to get to know a person from another country, the best way is through the breaking of bread. It's when you share a meal and you find out what the food is all about. And in Africa, we believe until you've had a meal with me, you're not really a friend. So
Yes.
I love what you're
That sounds
doing.
about right.
So, what are you studying at school?
So I actually did general science, so completely different from what I'm doing in my profession right now.
Yes,
Originally, I wanted to be a doctor, but in growing, learning, being in a different environment, I guess I quickly saw that, yeah, this is not for me. So I
yes.
didn't pursue it any further. But right now, I work as a program coordinator for a nonprofit organization. So I've handled things like food bank, meal programs, volunteer coordination, student placements, anything related to that, casework as well. I've done a little of that as well. Yeah, so I would say I wear a lot of hats.
That is awesome. And it sounds to me like you're really loving being in that space. What does your nonprofit focus on?
So it's really almost everything, like helping vulnerable individuals. So it goes from shelter to food. There's also a spiritual aspect as well for those who are Christians, because I can say this is Salvation Army. What else is
Okay.
there?
They're all over the
Um,
world. They do a lot of good.
yeah, Yeah, so it's different. So one thing I would say that some people probably don't know is that depending on where you go, they will have a different function or a different mission. So you'll go to
Yes.
some locations and they have, like a school for girls only because, that was an issue in that era. So they're trying to help fill that gap in that community. So it's all over the world. I pretty much grew up in it, and it just made sense when I decided to work there that, yeah, it was a good fit for me.
Now, when we met on a very unusual platform.
Yes.
Uh, Tell everybody how we met and what was it that inspired you to attend that particular event?
For sure. So we actually met at an online event hosted by Immigrant Women in Business. So they're a local organization that basically brings women together. They also have men who come, but it's mainly for helping women in business, giving them the tools that they need to drive their business. But it really is a sisterhood. So I've been volunteering with them since I moved to Toronto. So I guess you could say since 2019. And anytime they need any assistance, they call on me, and I will come and share any inspiration, any resources that I have. So that event in particular, I know the topic was about personal brand, confidence. Um, what was the other thing? It had something to do with how to build confidence in yourself, to like put yourself out there, because we had a few speakers. So through
Yes.
that event, I was a speaker, and then we connected through the chats, and then it was on LinkedIn that we further connected, and now we're here.
I love my life right now because I am meeting some of the most phenomenal young women in the world and really paying attention to LinkedIn as a tool for me to connect. How are you using LinkedIn to find people to interview for the work that you do and for your channel?
Yeah, for sure. Actually, LinkedIn has been a very helpful tool because it also allows you to find people who could be mentors, because that's not something that I think I really considered, because I wasn't really sure how to go about doing it. So I was a bit of a late bloomer with finding a mentor, I would say. But I've definitely found a lot of great people who have, expertise in an area that maybe I'm not that versed in, or they're just awesome to just talk to. So I've been able to meet people for business, for friendship, like you name it. LinkedIn is very much underrated, I would think, and I hope more people, use it. And I got to meet you further on it. So I would say it works.
Now, a lot of people don't realize the power of LinkedIn. I think, like you, I've been looking for mentors. I'm busy trying to raise funds to build an app. And people are very open to connecting now more than ever. Before COVID, not so much. But have you noticed a shift in that
Oh, yeah.
people are
Yeah.
seeking connection, right?
Yes, for sure. I would say during COVID, I would say is when it was more ramped up and amplified. Like I would hear left, right, and center, use LinkedIn, use LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Whether like I think also for those who, probably got laid off trying to find a job, it was one of the best ways to really connect with someone who's probably in the industry or at the organization that you're trying to get into, right?
Mm.
And people are really trying to make connections first with people, genuine connections, before they move further with you in any kind of relationship. So I would say being forced, us being forced to be online all the time due to the
Yes.
lockdowns definitely helped. And then it just became a habit for a lot of us to just keep it going because we could see the good results coming out of it.
And the world is really flat now because of the internet. It's
Hmm.
broken down so many barriers to meeting
Yes.
people who are not like you, to networking, to socializing. I believe COVID, in a strange way, has forced us to use alternative tools to connect and communicate with people. And that's a
Yes, that's
really
definitely
exciting
true.
thing.
Yeah, that's true. Because even for like events, once upon a time you had to worry about having to physically be there, or you missed out because you weren't able to physically be there. I found a lot of events that were in person that it became so open to people outside of Canada that now they are now being able to take part in some, events have turned to having a live stream available
Yeah.
just for when they go in person, that those who can't make it in person can still be there. So that's good to see that they're taking advantage of the technology we have right now.
I love it. I love it. It's a beautiful space to be in, and just an exciting time if you have access to the internet to be alive and to connect and to engage with people from all over the world. I think on a daily basis, I talk to people in maybe 5, 6 different countries. Right now, we've been online with an International Women's Day online summit. So for 31 days straight, we've been going online. We have 10 to 15 women sharing a story every single day, and it's been phenomenal, absolutely incredible. So I really thank you for taking the time to come out and get to know me. So
No
I always
problem. Thank you
ask
for having me.
people 3 questions before I let you go. If time was an illusion, and your past, your present, and your future could exist in the same timeline, and I could take you back to the younger you, and you could have a conversation with that young girl who was excited about leaving her home country, going to Canada and do something new, based on what has been your experience, what would you say to that young girl? I want you to talk as if there's another young girl listening to you right now, dreaming and wishing of the day she will leave her country and go somewhere else. 3 nuggets of wisdom. What would you say to her?
Oh wow. Okay. So I know this experience is a scary one. You're not going to be sure about the direction of your life sometimes, but it is okay to try new things. It is okay to, fail sometimes. Like, don't be so hard on yourself, girl. You deserve to give yourself grace. You deserve to give yourself time to see that not to see things as failures, but see them as things that you can learn from and improve on. And um just believe in yourself. That's really what I think I would say to my younger self and to anyone who's listening. Very, very important to believe in yourself. Self-doubt, imposter syndrome, it's definitely a beast, but you can conquer that beast. Just believe in yourself.
I love it. So now let me take you into your future. You're now 100 years old. You're sitting in your rocking chair with your dogs, your cats, your grandchildren, and great grandchildren. If you could have a conversation with the older you, based on how you're living your life right now, what would you say to her?
I'm proud of you. You know, things were hard at times, but you didn't allow that to, shake you too hard. You took time to um, feel, you took time to process, and then you made a plan. And for that, I am proud of you. You allowed yourself to shine and glow. And I am happy to say that you were my younger self. And for that, now I'm living happy with my grandkids and my great grandchildren.
You are a wise, wise, wise soul. I absolutely love that. That is so beautiful. And I think you
Thank
should
you.
also say thank you to her because she guided you there. I have
Yes,
this thing that time is an illusion, it doesn't exist. And you were born with all of the knowings. Everything you're going to do in this life is already in you. So if you ever get stuck, you can go into meditation and prayer and get really still. And that future you will guide you to where you're supposed to go. The answers are already there.
that's true.
So, my last question is, was there anything I left out? And who were the women in your life that you feel guided you to be who you are being today?
Wow. I don't think you left out anything at all. Like, this was really great. For the women, I would say definitely my mother. She's one of them, like big impact because everything related to like my creativity of learning how to make the best out of the smallest resources you have, like she never thought that there is no way to do something. If I want to do something, I can find a way. So when I decided to start YouTube, I didn't have a fancy camera. I used my phone. I taught myself to edit. Like there is always a way, and she showed me that because I watched her growing up in the Caribbean, how she was resourceful and found a way. I would say that she definitely got that from her mother. So my late grandmother, she was also an influence and an impact to me. And even during her last days, one thing I would say, she was a very God-fearing woman, and I think that helped me in times when I felt like I didn't have the strength. I could tap into my spirituality and really go and talk to God and just really surrender to Him to give me the strength I need. And the last person I would say, my grandmother on my dad's side, even though I didn't get to know her that well, I see her a lot through my dad. And she, I don't know how to really explain it, but I look back at even pictures and I would have like memories sometimes of when I used to visit and just all the things I see coming through my dad, this really strong leader. Definitely it comes from her. The patience, oh my goodness. the patience. Yes.
Oh,
I would say he has definitely helped me in that area sometimes because I think sometimes I can be a bit of a hothead, but he's always that voice of reason in
Yes.
my ear. Yeah, and I believe he got that from his mother. So those are the three women I would say have been a big impact for me.
Oh, I love it. Well, it sounds to me like you've been divinely guided your whole life. Your ancestors, even though you didn't get to really know your grandmother on your dad's side, she is in him. You're right. They are still with us through the DNA. Their characteristics live on forever. So, absolutely beautiful that you recognize that. Well, I'll tell you, it's been an absolute honor having you with us today. I'll be sharing this video first thing tomorrow morning with my community of over 30,000 women from all over the world. Keep doing what you're doing. Don't give up. And how can people find you? What is the best
First
place?
of all, thank you so much for this opportunity and for speaking with me today. The best place to find me, you can find me on LinkedIn at Margaret Leanne or my YouTube channel, Charismaggie TV. That's the same name for all my social media platforms. And in case it's hard to spell, it's the word charismatic and Maggie merged together. That's the secret to the name.
I love it. Thank you so much. Don't go away. I want to talk to you before we end. I just want to thank everybody who's tuning in today. This is Gertrude in beautiful Melbourne, Australia. We just get to meet the most fascinating young women, the most fascinating stories. I'll be back again tomorrow. Have a fantastic day, morning, or evening, wherever you are in the world. And bye for now. Thank you again, Maggie.
Thank you.
We are back. Wasn't that just beautiful?
Wow, she is lovely.
yes, absolutely.
She is an amazing young woman. I feel so blessed. And so I met her the same day I met you, Triciana. You remember?
Yes. Yes, I met her as well, and we did have a chat. So we're gonna meet up probably next month or the month after. So I'm looking forward to that.
Fantastic. So let me
Yes.
share her YouTube channel. Fascinating channel. She interviews people who are have restaurants. She's into sharing different types of foods from different countries. There is something here with this whole Caribbean link as well, I'm finding with our speakers today. Absolutely fascinating to see you young women out there in the world representing.
I have to say, totally impressed the way you've really been touching on the young women.
Yeah.
It's like almost, believe me, ladies, you're filling in big shoes and it gives us hope.
Mm-hmm.
I'll speak like that because I'm 51 this year. So, Trishan, you can start going, how old is she like? Huh? Yeah.
I wouldn't have guessed that. I wouldn't have guessed
Yeah,
that.
but
So
it's
All right.
so exciting, Sister Gertrude, to see this, to see the young women really taking the time. And you ladies, we have so much hope in you.
thank you.
You know
But
what we are fighting for, we may not see it in our time, but definitely you are going to make it change.
you
So,
offer the inspiration, and so that's what's really important, because we see great examples, and that's why we want to be inspired to carry the torch and continue this amazing work, because it's so necessary.
It sure is.
absolutely.
Yes.
So we have a comment from Dorothy in the UK saying that was amazing. What's her name and contact? So Dorothy, you can go onto YouTube. There's the link to her YouTube channel, Charis Maggie TV, and you can reach her through YouTube. I'll put her full name as well so you can get in touch with her. She's actually coming on board to help us with our YouTube channel. I've seen what she's done with her channel, and I don't have the energy, I don't have the skills to do this stuff. So we'll be working with her extensively to repurpose all of our video content and get our YouTube channel working properly. So it's always exciting when I meet these young women. Jerry, any feedback from you?
Well, she's amazing. when you asked her, when you think of your younger self, I thought, how much younger could she be?
I thought she answered it so well. I have to say, I thought she answered it so well. In the
Absolutely.
future,
Okay, so
the grandmother.
yeah. I just found out recently I'm going to be a great grandmother again to a baby girl.
Oh, congrats.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So
Congratulations.
I have a question. Okay, my only experience, I'm ashamed to say almost, with LinkedIn is I was stalked by 2 different men. So I have avoided.
Oh my.
So, and when they say certain things, I just don't go there, My question is, where do I go to find out how to be use LinkedIn most useful? I don't have a business, but I have a book, which is something I'm selling. So
yeah. And you're a speaker, Jerry. You do have a business. You're a speaker. People are looking for women to speak at conferences right now.
Yeah.
So we will help optimize your LinkedIn channel. I've told you about this before. I think you just weren't ready. So I think you're ready now.
Yeah.
The thing about LinkedIn is the keywords that are on your profile can help you get found. You can put certain things. So when people are searching for a speaker for a conference, and you are a speaker who talks around aged care, a lot of people are struggling with aging parents. You are inspiring just in your personal story. You've had cancer 5 times. That's another story you can share as a speaker. You have so many stories in you that can be turned into presentations. We will optimize your LinkedIn platform so people can find you.
Okay.
And Sister Gertrude, I had a question for you. I just booked an appointment with you anyway. But however, because this is work that we actually doing, and I honestly felt so appropriate to channel that through you as a publisher. So you can imagine where I'm going with that. Okay. So yes, because everything is now in order. Everything. So now it's to put you, I'll leave it at that. And then you and I put for the 31st, but the times there were quite interesting. So I hope you can take a look at your, so that we can, exactly. And I am really looking forward to working with Trishan, Renee. I am going to be stalking you just to let you know, because I really feel there's a lot that can be done for the girls.
I look forward to that as well. And I completely understand the whole idea about getting used to LinkedIn, because I'm on other forms of social media, but have just created a LinkedIn account. So we can have this journey together. I'm just getting started.
I have to run a webinar. So if anybody out there is interested in learning how to harness the power of LinkedIn, I will do a series of 6 webinars where we start off by creating your profile, optimizing it with the right words, and I'll show you the strategies that I've created. In the last 6 months, my LinkedIn has grown from about 5,000 people to 17,000.
Wow.
And I'm being very deliberate who I'm connecting with, because I'm building my databases. So I've got a database now of angel investors who will approach once we're ready for people to start investing in the HerStory movement. I've got a database of speakers, of coaches, of authors. So there's ways that you can use LinkedIn to grow your database. And the thing about LinkedIn is everybody who's on LinkedIn is business focused. It's not like Facebook where people are focusing on family and it's very informal. You will find the right people on LinkedIn. So I really want to help women learn how to leverage. The same thing with the way I approach the young woman from Harvard. If you see a post that's interesting, you have the person's name, you have the name of her company direct. Yesterday, I saw a job for a public speaker. So if your LinkedIn profile is optimized properly, if somebody posts a job for a public speaker, they will send you a notification. So I've just been shortlisted for a job interview this morning. It's the first time that's actually happened, but it's just because I had the word public speaker in my profile. Okay. So I went online. I just put my LinkedIn profile. They've already got back to me saying, can we have an interview next week?
Wow.
So the power of LinkedIn.
That is awesome.
I
And
hope
yes,
to be in that on that webinar for sure.
Yeah,
Yes.
yes,
So
same
I'll
here.
I've
A
only
good.
ever used Facebook, and that's because I have so many grandchildren. I can find out what's going on in their lives. That I could spend hours on there just reading what my grandkids are saying, and finding out what's going on with all the babies and stuff. So, but I do want to learn the LinkedIn. Thank you for that.
Okay, so I will publish, we'll do a series of 6 LinkedIn webinars, an hour each,
Okay.
and you guys just come in. I've also started a free webinar to help women who are trying to raise capital to scale their businesses, to scale their movements. So when I went into this world and building this app, it's like learning a completely new language. People throw jargon at you, words that mean absolutely nothing. Again, through LinkedIn, I found a mentor, a young woman who's based in Virginia, and she set up a nonprofit. And Maria, you need to be on this. You, Jerry, all of you, I'll add you into the group. She's looking for female founders, women who have their own businesses, their own movements, who are making a difference in the world and trying to raise a lot of money to do it. So she's a VC, she's a venture capitalist herself. She invests in women. So we've done a series of podcasts. Her podcast is called Navigating the Waters. It's on YouTube, it's on Spotify. We've done 3 episodes so far where I asked her questions around the terminology and the jargon around being in this world of trying to raise money for your business, how to connect with angel investors. The one thing she said to me last week when I asked her, why are you helping me? What makes you decide on which woman to invest in and which one not to? She said to me, Gertrude, it's your passion. She said, I can feel it when you speak about this project that this is what you live to do. And that's what I'm looking for. She said, I would rather work with someone who has no experience, who's never done anything, but is passionate about what they're doing. And so that passion has to come across through your videos. And that's something else I want to start teaching women, how to compress your message into 3 minutes. This young woman from Harvard, all I shared with her was a 3-minute video of the pitch video that I gave that won me the Women in Technology Awards for New Zealand and Australia. I managed to communicate the vision behind her story in 3 minutes. And now I'm using that to connect with other people. So that's the power of video. That's the power of speaking. And if you have that conviction in what you're doing, you can move mountains. Literally, you can move mountains.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to teach everything I'm learning along this journey. I am going to teach people how to do it. And in the sharing and the teaching, the free webinar that I'm doing every Friday, I attracted another woman who's based in Australia, in Brisbane. She has an app that she designed. She spent well over $300,000 developing this app. She offered to white label her app for me for free. Now, the cheapest quote I have received so far was $21,000.
Wow.
And another woman from Nigeria has said, Gertrude, let me help you. You don't have to pay that amount of money. So I need to produce something that creates the concept of the app that's going to cost $1 million to build. But when you go out to investors, they want to see an example of it. So instead of investing $20, $30, $100,000 building a prototype, I'm going to white label her prototype as an example. And that's happened again through LinkedIn. So you just don't know who you're going to meet on LinkedIn. It's a
Yes,
powerful platform to connect with the right people. All
absolutely.
right.
Thank
So
you
we're
for that. Thank you for that. It's very encouraging because for myself, I'm very new in the space of doing something formal. And so it just feels like there's so many moving parts because as I mentioned, most of what I was doing before was volunteer. So now
yes.
getting into that space of learning how to monetize and how to approach investors and things like that is a completely new thing. So thank you. This is very inspiring and encouraging.
And Tristan, the one powerful thing about the content you're creating is this. Right now, parents are struggling with kids at home. They're looking for content, they're looking for programs to help their children. If you digitize your video program, I've watched your YouTube picture videos. If you create a program that can be digital and be turned into an app, and people download your app and their kids can watch your stories, your videos, that's how you're going to scale really fast and reach more people with your stories. So for any content creator, what happens is when you have an app, let me give you an example. I have a database of 30,000 women. If I can enroll 10,000 of those women to download my app at $5 a month, that's $60 a year. I will generate $50,000 a month because I have an app. That's the power of technology. So for anyone who has digital content, or you can digitize a coaching program, a training program, Jerry, it's the same with you. The people who are struggling, taking care of the elderly at home, all of the lessons you learned looking after your grandmother, that can be turned into a program to help somebody else who is struggling with an elderly parent at home.
I would like that. I don't actually see that vision, but I bet I could.
I can guide you. You've shared so many things in your speeches.
Yes. I love the one-on-one with people. I love,
and you can still do the one-on-one, Jerry, but the thing is, there's some people who won't get access to you, who might be living in a foreign country, time difference is there. You can still do your one-on-one coaching. It's not saying that you're cutting that out completely, but you're just giving people access to your knowledge in a bigger way.
Okay.
You might have somebody in Germany who can't meet with you on the times that you're online and awake.
Yeah.
And they're able to download your program and learn from you. That's the power of digitizing your knowledge.
Have to learn how to do that from scratch.
Well, that's why you know me. That's why I'm here to help you with that.
Sounds great. I'm there.
This is exciting. Very, very exciting times we're in. So we're going to move on to our next speaker. Is a pre-recorded video interview that I did with a young woman who is based in New Zealand. Christine Yip is her name. The bio says that business improvement with honesty and kindness. I love working with mature organizations to bring the best of people, process, and technologies. She's an advisor, a mentor, and a trainer as well in business. And she is based in Auckland, New Zealand. So she works with team leaders. She says, "Why work with me? I am a ferocious advocate for business improvement with honesty and kindness. This combines with radically fresh, disruptive perspective and thinking to help leaders get clear on their improvement initiatives and be pragmatic with action." So she has a business in information systems, Six Sigma Black Belt, and Agile Scrum Master.
Wow.
And she helps leaders and organizations get a clear pathway to success. The next video we're going to watch. Thank you so much, Christina, for being a part of our movement. And thank you, Maria, for being here with us. It was awesome reconnecting with you. I will speak with you next week. Just send me a message on Facebook, Maria, with the exact time that works best for you. And I'm sure I can always change my schedule to accommodate that as well. So here we go with the next video.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to the HerStory TV and the HerStory podcast. This is Gertrude Mache here in beautiful Melbourne, Australia. And today I am graced with the presence of yet another fascinating lady coming to us all the way from New Zealand this time. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our tribe. Tell everybody your full name, where you're based in the world, how old you are, and share your story with us today.
Yes, so I am Christine, and my Chinese name is Wen Kit. My last name is Yip, so it's Christine Wen Kit Yip. Now, I can add to a really long name because of the cultural background. So call me Christine. All my friends call me Christine. I am in Auckland, New Zealand, and I'm here for 10 plus years. I have moved from Hong Kong to New Zealand in the 1999. It was a bit of an accident, to be honest, and
A happy
since
accident.
it is a happy accident, and since then my life changed substantially. And what I do now, I'm a business improvement advisor because I realize there's so much that I can see. Things can be done better. So that has basically been almost the things that I've always been doing in my life. And I just realized this is actually something that I really want to do for the rest of my life.
That's absolutely wonderful. You know, not many people find themselves in the right profession, doing something that they love. And it sounds to me like you stumbled upon this amazing opportunity. Tell us what it is exactly you do, how you're helping businesses thrive and grow.
Yes, I've realized I've spent quite a lot of time in different business. I've spent almost 10 years in manufacturing and logistics. And all the people I work with, they are sort of learning on the job. And I realize there's so much stuff that we can do better. All these different teams can work better together instead of working on their own. Better collaboration, better use of resource. Everyone have an easier time, and particularly these days, like there's so much demand of moving goods around. People changing job, so the pressure is actually quite high. So I have actually condensed all my experience in the corporate years into a book to help people, guide them through a structured way of working better together and working better with technology as well.
Wow. So let me take you back to your formative years, that young girl who moved from Hong Kong and came to New Zealand. What was that experience like? The culture shock? What were the main differences in your transitioning from Hong Kong to New Zealand?
One of the really big thing was I actually didn't realize how big the shock is going to be. As a 16, 17, I just thought I'm going on a flight and then I'm going to have a good time. And I landed into my host family, which is actually in a really small rural town in New Zealand with 800
Where was that
people.
exactly?
It's Reparura. So,
and which part of New Zealand? I don't even know where that is.
So I can tell you, it's a really, really small rural town between Taupo, which is a tourism place, and Rotorua, which is another tourism place.
Okay.
And that's almost like a little place on the beside the state highway.
Wow.
And nobody really go there, to be honest.
No, I've never heard of it.
But somehow the universe got me a host family, and these are lovely people. And so because of the offer, I'm like, I can't say no. I mean, I don't want to wait for a chance of may or may not have anything host me.
Yes.
So I did, and I just took the chance. And the shock was really that when I arrived, the first weekend when my host mom and dad had to go to work, I was at home in a country town in complete silence.
Wow.
There was nothing. There was
nothing.
No noise. Like I sit in my own bedroom, was thinking, this is surreal. This is not normal. I've never had anything like this in my whole life. And I realized this is a real, this is the real deal.
Yes.
This is a complete different country. In a complete, I'm in some sort of adventure.
That is just incredible. So the silence. What is the population of Hong Kong compared to the population of 5 million people in New Zealand?
7 million in a really, really small city. So
Wow.
yeah, that was a real shock. Basically, 800 people. I was the only Asian, and people mistaken me as are you Japanese? are you Maori? Are you the Aboriginal here? Because they've never seen
Ah,
me. Like they've been living in a place with their own culture, and I come
yes.
from a very different background.
And this is almost 20 years ago, correct? So
Yes,
it
20
was,
years ago.
yeah. We came to New Zealand almost around the same time. It's quite interesting when you told me that. I was like, okay, there's another little parallel to our stories.
Yep.
Absolutely fascinating. So you went on to study at Victoria University, correct?
Yes, I did. Yes. I study information systems, and
Mhm.
in parallel, I also did more sociology and philosophy. I'm always fascinated about people, so I want
Okay.
to know technically how to do things better and get a
Right.
job, knowing that having a job is important. But
Yes.
like this people thing, yeah, it's always very fascinating for me.
That is interesting. So you've got this background in IT, you've got stuff in philosophy, you are into project management. It's a very, very strange combination.
I am so glad I've done this strange combination. And it was just at the time that I was able to do it through Victoria. What I
Mhm.
have realized is sometimes with very technical focus, there are projects that's been done that are only focusing on the technical outcome, only
Yes.
focusing on maybe the profit. But
Right.
people got left behind, and I feel very
Mhm.
strong about it.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, and you really seem to be bridging that gap where those people are getting left behind and really making a difference in that sense.
Yeah.
So let's say, for example, I wanted to take you on as a consultant in my business. I'm struggling. Most entrepreneurs are struggling right now with what's happening with COVID, and people are having to reposition their businesses and find
Yeah.
smarter ways to do things. Take me through a step by step process. How would you help me to get from A to B?
Yes, so what I do is to start with raising the awareness, because a lot of businesses they realize they want to pivot, they want to get to a better outcome, but what you
Yes.
need to actually is start with what data you have got, like where are
Yeah.
the performance level. So there
Okay.
may be some quick win opportunity that you have not realized because you've been so busy thinking that there is a bit of a problem and there is the future and there's
Yeah.
this pathway of gap. Where do you go? So the
Yeah.
very first step is to look at where things are at, and opportunity may come through with finding new business or actually some sort of like internal change and saving.
Right.
And that gives the business and the operation a bit of stronger standing and stability. And
Right.
with that, you can go into, okay, now that we've got stability, what are the future options? And of course, the option can be, quite visionary. And with a
Mm-hmm.
visionary options, there's potentially maybe a bit more investment, maybe a bit more preparation. So getting
Yes.
the cash flow into doing that is really important. So
Mm-hmm.
operationally, how do you move and how do you plan all the mechanical logistic to get there is really important as a roadmap. Um,
So
So I'll just jump in here quickly.
Yep.
Helping people or entrepreneurs attract investors so they can get the funds you're talking about. Is that something else you do?
I do a bit of that, but more so is if they get more clarity of the future state and how to get
Yes.
there, it almost comes as then you almost have a business case to go to investor for more investment. And also, while you're looking for that, your business is stronger with cash flow and the performance.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, because you do have to prove the outcomes of what you're trying to do before investors can actually see that it's worth investing in.
Exactly. That's right. And then the clarity is the conviction of like, this is like the right direction for you and for the business.
Yes.
In that case, that is almost like a really good story for the investor that are coming to your way.
Okay. Now, the fascinating thing that I find about your work, I mean, you are so multifaceted. It's quite intriguing to read your bio. You're now becoming an author. Tell us about your book, what the title is, and what you've covered in that book.
Yes, so this book is going to be ready in the next month or two, and the book title is called Power Up. So what the book is about is trying to get the decision maker and particularly business owner a really good understanding of all these parties that are at play in the business. So there is just finance, there's the customer, there's the employee, as well as the process that are at play. Now, if they are working together, you get a lot of clarity, and also your business improves dramatically. Okay. And that's quite often we only focus on one side, and because we haven't got the overall view. So this is really to help business to improve productivity and also improve innovation.
Fantastic. And that productivity piece is really crucial. I love
Extremely.
it.
That's right. Yeah, being stronger internally and getting the team to work together, your innovation is almost going to come just like that. And I think quite a lot of organizations are focusing on what are the next shiny thing and put a lot of energy in that. When in reality, it might just be already there. We're not realizing it.
Now, as a woman coming from a diverse background, you're not a Kiwi, you're not from New Zealand. Have you encountered any challenges just based on your ethnicity to get into big organizations and work with them?
Yes. I mean, quite often, and this is very personal, right? There has been time that when I've done a really good job, and then the outcome is I don't get promoted because it feels like, well, the other guy has been there for much longer. And yeah, not having been a fluent English speaker in the very beginning, that means that opportunity gone to somewhere else, even though I have the knowledge and like the ability to do the job. So that was some hard time, and it got me thinking, do I need to change myself? Like, do I need to be like everyone else to be like? And I think eventually I come to be more comfortable with who I am. And yeah, acquire all this like different sort of perspective and understanding of this different industry and different group. And that almost make me who I am now that I am more sort of compassion and understanding of why people have different sort of different way of reaction, different perspective.
Yes. It's all about understanding the other's perspective in this case, correct?
Definitely. And I think this is the key of sometimes breaking down some of the silo and barrier of working together. The more I work with very diverse group, I'm also contributing in the community space and COVID response. There are things that I realize it's not because people don't listen. Sometimes it's not because they're arrogant. Sometimes there is a bit of lack of trust and lack of understanding. And if the world has just a little bit more understanding, we're all going to be better.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's really important. Trust and understanding is a crucial part in building any relationships. I think trust is a huge one. And you are in the workplace trying to bridge that gap. So, if I was to take you back to your past, let's imagine that time is an illusion.
Mm-hmm.
Your past your present are existing in the same timeline, and you could go back to that little girl
Yeah.
who was coming from Hong Kong, going to the other side of the world. Based on the things you've learned about life and about people, what would you say to her?
I'll say be less uptight and just relax and yeah, try to enjoy life a bit more.
Yes.
Yeah, I think with my upbringing, and I don't know if it's the thing from Hong Kong, everyone trying to achieve something, and you've got to do it in the shortest amount of time, and you've got to achieve certain level of status or that sort of thing,
Yes.
and that you are a good person. And in reality, this life is not that, and we have seen it in in this couple of years. It is about really understanding who we are, and then going with our instinct, and maybe just be open minded and the opportunity presented.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to trust your instincts. You have to trust your guts, right?
Totally, that's
Because
right. I'm
that
really pleased that I've done it a couple of times, but at the time people go,
mm,
"What are you doing?"
yes. And you trusted that inner voice that was guiding you, and you weren't wrong. A lot of women don't know how to use their intuition. I say that your intuition is like a muscle.
Yes.
You use it and it gets stronger. And the more you use it, the stronger it gets, to a point where you don't even realize you're using it.
Yeah. That's the thing. And
Fantastic.
sometimes it could be so different from what everyone else telling you. The
Yes.
society have all this different way of you should do this, you should do that. I'm glad that I actually decided, some of the stuff I just don't like to do it. So forget it. I'm going to do things my way.
I love it. I love it. It gives you total control. It makes you the captain of your ship. You are the one who's creating your reality.
Yep, exactly.
Love
And we all
that.
have
All
the
right.
ability. Yeah, so I'm glad that we got talking about this.
Okay, so now let me take you into your future, seeing as time is an illusion. And if we could teleport you to the 100-year-old you, you are sitting on your rocking chair, you've lived this amazing life. You've got your grandchildren, your great grandchildren, your dogs, your cats, whatever it is around you, and you could talk to that older you and have a conversation with her. What would you say to her based on how you're living your life right now?
And I think what I would say to her, given that she's already older and live a life, I'll basically just, be very happy to have a conversation, but knowing that I'm still sort of exploring some of the unknown in life,
Yes.
and actually be okay with the unknowns in life, because that makes it quite exciting.
It does.
I'll
It
be
does.
really glad that she's well, and the future is looking relative, like pretty happy and peaceful, and I'll be well. But almost like I don't feel like I need to know what happened. I'm just
Okay.
really pleased to know that she's there, and I've grown into maybe be bit more wise person.
And you made it to 100, and celebrate that.
Wow, yeah, kicking and living. So I'm hoping that by the time I'm still partying and dressing up and it'll be fabulous kind of thing.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Okay, so let me end my interview with this question. Is there anything I should have asked you that I missed out? Sometimes when I do these interviews,
my interview subject might have something else that they're working on and I didn't touch on that subject, or I just missed out some little nugget of wisdom I could have got out of that person, what would that be?
I think one of the things is don't be afraid to sort of do some coaching and mentoring with another person. I am now a coach and mentor. And the reason I'm doing it is because I've got so much goodness from my coaching and mentoring sessions that I've had in the past. Now, there are a lot of blind spots, and I realized that actually bouncing with someone else had made a huge difference of my clarity. So I would encourage everyone, like particularly for us women, sometimes we just kind of think, oh, maybe we're kind of afraid to spend money on ourselves. So I realized, well, guess what? I'm worth every penny of it. So, and it has got me actually, I actually got really good outcome out of it. So I'm glad I've actually had the support.
Yeah. And they say that success leaves clues. When you get a mentor, when you get a coach, they're going to help you get to your destination quicker, faster, and easier.
Yes.
And you don't have to reinvent the wheel. There are people out there who have done what you're trying to do. Rather model of those successful people than starting from scratch.
Exactly.
That's awesome. I'm glad I asked you that question. But thank you again for stepping forward and coming onto our platform to share your story. The HerStory movement is trying to uplift, inspire, empower women through the sharing of our stories. I believe that every person is a door into another world. And until you open that door and you get to meet that person, like what we've just done in the last 20 minutes, you never know what is behind the door. So that's my encouragement to all of you people out there who are listening to this podcast, who are listening to this interview. Be curious, like Christine said. Ask questions. Talk to the people who cross your path. We don't meet each other by accident. So tune in again tomorrow when I come back with yet another fascinating guest. And Christine, thank you so much for this interview. I'm really looking forward to the relationship we will build from here going forward. Fantastic day wherever you are in the world. If you are considering to come and take part in our next online summit, please register. The website is the HerStory. Circle. Looking for women's stories. We are trying to curate women's stories. We are have a fantastic day wherever you are. Christine, thank you so much again.
Thank you for having me.
Bye for now, everybody. Okay. So that was a rather video. Did you feel that on your side, or was that just on my side?
No, it locked up for a little while, and then it echoed the whole end of it. Wasn't you were speaking twice.
That's interesting. Yeah, I could. It was breaking up and starting and breaking and starting, so that's a real pity.
Yeah.
But that was Christine in New Zealand. Fascinating young woman.
Good. Yeah, she is. All these people are because I'm so much older than most of them. And when you ask those questions, I think, what would I tell my younger self? But then I don't regret any of the stuff I did when I was my younger self. I was a busy woman and I didn't have any idea that I'd be here right now. I would have never guessed it. So it's interesting that the way they are doing so much at such young ages. I love it.
It is rather fascinating to see how young people are getting out there and just doing their thing. Yeah. And traveling the world and not being afraid to do that.
Right. True.
All right. So we're going to end our day with a South African speaker. She is part of Vidashni's tribe. So she came and spoke, I think it was in 2020.
20.
Yes. So we're going to share this story. Another fascinating woman doing the best she can in her community in Cape Town, South Africa. Fatima Ordendal is her name. So we'll watch her video, then we'll have a brief catch up, Jerry, before we call it a day. So here we go. I have so many windows open. Have to make sure I get the right one. Where are you? I think it's here. There we go.
Everybody, my name is Fatima Ordendal. I hail from the beautiful Lenasia, south of Johannesburg. I'm 49 years old. I'm married with 4 children. I've adopted one of my own and maybe 72 in the community. I was a volunteer at the Lenasia police station for almost 10 years, working as a victim support worker and at the rape crisis center. And this is where I saw the corruption, the high level of corruption in Lenasia, where drug dealers would walk into the police station and walk out free the next day with no charges to them. And I saw the community suffer. I saw parents taking drugs, using social grants that were given to children to take drugs. And I saw the children suffering. Rape is a very high thing in our communities, but it's kept under the mat all the time because of reputation and things like that. And these cases, most of the time, are bought off by the police. And this is where the fight started. However, it was a very long and hard fight with no support until 6 years ago when I met light workers. I was invited to a day of a Women's Day at a local social development in our area, and they were hosting this day. I was pampered and given a very blessed day with gifts and nice food, divine food, and I needed it at that time the most, because I felt so worthless, so useless in my community. I was so depressed because I was ill at that time as well, and I felt like a complete failure. You know, putting food on the table was a challenge. But that day, going to see light workers and meeting them, I was empowered, I was motivated to make a difference and to start the fight. This is when my fight became so intense. I became aware of Videsh's action to start the local drug action committee. She put the process for us to start this, and I joined. I became a member of the LDAC. But at that time, my granddaughter became a victim when my daughter was on drugs and on the street with her, and I had to remove her because of this. And having her there every day meant that her friends were always there, and you can't feed one child without not feeding the others, and they're all hungry. So I ended up being the daycare mom of the area, and this is where it all started. But the drug fight became worse. At one stage, my house was bombed by drug dealers because protesting for a no bail application for them. And they started shooting at us while the house was burning. And we had to remove all my kids from the home. And later, this is when the kids said to me, Mom, if you die, if they shoot you, you won't be able to do anything. So help the children. So I confronted light workers and I told them about my hope to start this care center for the kids. We had a beautiful meeting with light workers and they taught me about registration and the Children's Act was covered, banking, how to start the center, everything. And I went ahead and I started the center. We did it in my lounge. Every day kids would come and children were just coming and coming, because what made it so awesome was kids just came because they needed to eat. And it grew so fast. We got a shack, we put it up in the yard, and now we realized that we needed to teach those children something. We just couldn't keep them there in the whole day. And so we started to teach them basics and cared for them. And we saw the need that these kids didn't have clothes because we started to bath them and take care of them, And I phoned Videsh and the light workers, and they came in and they brought clothes and toiletries and food stuff, because this is our basic need, that our kids don't have the basics. My aim is to see that every child gets what they need completely. Most of the kids in my area are very abused. They don't have somebody to stand up for them. And so this is what I want to do. I want to be their fighter, to see that they're not abused, that nothing happens to them, that they're totally loved, that they deserve this love. And I managed to put up a classroom now. And when I started, there wasn't even a ceiling or flooring or not even a door. And we got that secondhand things and we put it up. And I phoned Videsh again and I said to her, I've put on this class, can you please assist me? And she came in with furniture and books and puzzles and toys, clothes, medication, nappies to take care of the kids. And so it goes well at the time. And in the time there's more kids that come and you constantly need, because you always have kids that's abused. Our challenge here at the center is that we cannot lay cases at our police stations because nothing happens to them. So even when a child is raped or abused, we don't get anywhere. So medically, we have to see to those kids ourselves. Yesterday, a 6-year-old was brought to me, and it broke my heart because she burned. Her entire arms were burned because her mom was too drunk to see that she was trying to make porridge for herself. So you deal with this on a daily basis. But I thank God for the blessing you bestowed on me to make me have this relationship with Videsh and the light workers, that whatever I need, they're behind me. I can continue because I have these angels. Yes, it's a challenge financially every day. We have problems, but just to know that there are people there behind you that can carry you to the next day. On Sunday, my family and I were sitting in the garden, and 2 young little boys came past with a container, and they said, "Sorry, Mama, don't you have some food for me?" At 9 o'clock in the morning, these children were absolutely dirty, meaning they slept like that, because children cannot get their dirty in 2-3 hours time. And I realized that they didn't have anybody that was taking care of them, and I went to go and check on them. Their mom had passed away in October. The sister was in grade 11 and she was taking care of 3 of them. When I got there, the 2-year-old had a pamper on that was so full, his mess was running down his legs. And he's standing outside the yard, nobody to change him. So I'm sure this grade 11 student is frustrated looking after her siblings, but no help from nobody. So I removed the 3 of them and they're now with me. My daycare runs from 5 in the morning. I've got kids that come at 5 till 8 at night, when people can take their children back home. But these boys have to live with me now because I can't see them living in the shack. I took the little girl, her name is Refiwe, away from her mom yesterday. And I'm trying my best to get social development to remove her, which I hope will be done by Tuesday. But this is what we see every day in our community and what we need to deal with. So it's hard, but we get there, and we have people like Videsh, and they can stand behind us. And I thank God for the abundance. Even in the lockdown, they saw that we have food every month because things were so bad. They would send us ShopRite vouchers to go and collect food, to buy food at ShopRite. And even the time when we just started up, they would make sure that these kids were fed. So I thank God for all your help, and God bless you, because through you I am who I am. I'm somebody today, motivated and empowered to make a difference. And My aim is to make sure that every child I meet will receive love, that every child I needs will be taken care of, irrespective of where they come from. Thank you.
Fatima, praat jy Afrikaans?
Ja, bietjie.
Ek is so emosioneel nou en ek voel net ek moet met jou in Afrikaans praat. Jy is 'n engel. I'm just saying to Fatima, she's an angel. And we absolutely love and appreciate you for everything that you do to make a difference.
Thank you.
And we are behind you every step of the way.
Thank you so much. It means so much to me. You know, the day when I met light workers, I knew God sent angels to rescue me. I needed them that day. You wouldn't believe how much.
And keep believing that, please.
Thank you. I will.
Gertrude.
I just say, Fatima, you are the unsung heroes of our communities. The women who see what's happening in their environment, who step up without a cent to help wherever you can. Just remember that you were called to do this work. You are a soldier among soldiers, and we are with you. We are with you.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for telling that story from your heart, because this is what creates the heart-to-heart connections with people who can facilitate and help. Don't give up. We're with you. We are with you now. And again, Deshni, I thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, Jerry. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I remember when we showed that one last year, I had a really hard time containing myself because the things that happen to these little children just shouldn't happen. It just is not what God's plan for these children is. And so it is wonderful.
There's a lot of work to be done in the world. There's just so much work. And it's these angels that walk this planet, women who have no income, who just see something in their community and they say, I can help, and they just get on with it. And what I'm really hoping is that we reach that point of traction where we can get all of the support that's needed in these communities to bring about a bit of change.
Yeah.
Very, very emotional to relive these stories, but very necessary too.
True.
So, Vidashni, thank you for bringing these stories to us. Words cannot express my gratitude for the courage that you have to be holding space for so many. I know your plate is full in terms of the work you're doing, and I would love to see how we can support and help you get your personal story out in a bigger way. Thank you for your WhatsApp message. I will call you tonight and we'll catch up and put together a strategy to really amplify these voices. So we'll end here today, Jerry. We were expecting one speaker who had sent through a video. It's just come through, so I need to edit it. We'll have her speaking first thing tomorrow morning.
Okay.
And in the meantime, we've also got your son, you said, who's coming to speak tomorrow?
He is going to come speak tomorrow.
Fantastic. This is exciting because he has connections to Zimbabwe and South Africa already.
Yes. Yeah, he does international business and he travels to South America a lot, and he's traveled a lot of places. He has I'll let him explain. I don't even know how to explain his business. It's just, he was the reason I decided to ask him is he was in South Africa, I believe, and they're talking about it. It sounds all sound familiar to you, talking about sanitary napkins for the women in South Africa, and he goes, "I think my mom does that kind of stuff, you know." And this was so.
Oh,
I have
wow.
next time he goes, I think he's going in June. He's going to take a suitcase packed with kits to the guy on the other end there, and then I'm kind of hoping that we can make some really good connections when we go.
Make this a Southern African trip.
Yeah.
Where really, yeah, I love this.
Yes.
Absolutely love it. Okay, so we'll have your son speaking tomorrow.
Mhm.
That is awesome. So with that, we will call it a day for today. Thank you to everybody who's tuned in. Thank you to all the amazing women who came and stepped forward to share their stories today. We'll be back again tomorrow with yet another lineup of amazing speakers. Have a fantastic day, morning, or evening, wherever you are in the world. And Jerry, don't go away straight away. Let's just catch up for a few minutes before we end. So I'm just going to end our broadcast. Tomorrow's the last day, people. If you do have a story, you can still come in and share it because we still have a few speaking slots. Otherwise, bye for now. Have a fantastic day, morning, or evening, wherever you are in the world.